Chapter 553. As an experienced master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior, Yuan Jin's explosiveness was extremely horrifying. While he was flying, a purple gold light appeared on his body. It was like a dragon or a snake almost materialized. It carried Yuan Jin's body and shot out, arriving not far away from Yi Chen within a blink of an eye. "You brat." Yuan Jin lifted up his palm and attacked toward Yi Chen. Although it was just a normal low-rank profound sense martial art, it was extremely powerful when it landed on Yuan Jin's hand. As he pushed out his palm power, a massive purple gold light palm expanded rapidly, covering the space where Yi Chen were. One finger shattering void. Yi Chen's pupils shrank. Yuan Jin's palm attack was not weaker than the Iron Palm Master who had appeared on the Treasure River Island. The title of the Iron Palm Master contained the word palm, so naturally his palm art was the most powerful one. But Yuan Jin's palm art was not weaker than his, which meant that his overall power might be even more powerful than the Iron Palm Master. Without thinking too much, Yi Chen endured the mountain-shattering palm pressure and stabbed out with his right index finger. Boom! The purple gold light palm and the blue finger clashed together. The two seemed to be mortal enemies as they clashed against each other crazily, bringing up layers after layers of blasting waves. The blasting waves were all different in color. It was purple gold for a second, then blue, then purple and blue. It blew Yuan Yi, who was already wounded badly, a couple of miles away. He puked out a mouthful of blood and fainted right after Yuan Hao. Because Yuan Jin was too angry, he had forgotten about Yuan Yi, which made him even more wounded. At the same time he hated Yi Chen to the core. His palm power suddenly increased by 30%. The purple gold light palm pushed forward aggressively, shattering the blue finger. Sword light flying spell. Yi Chen was already prepared for it. He took back the Zhen Yuan outside of his body, and waves of sword light shone. With a flash he flew out 10 miles within a second. Because the power of the purple gold light palm had been cancelled out by the blue finger, its speed had been drastically reduced. It did not manage to catch up with Yi Chen, but did manage to destroy a lot of buildings in the Yuan family. "Little brat, do you really think you are a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior?" Yuan Jin's eyes were cold as he locked onto Yi Chen, who was 10 miles away from him. He flicked his fingers, shooting out beams of purple gold light. These purple gold light beams contained the profound of gold, and their penetrative power was unparalleled. Countless purple gold light beams interweaved with each other, causing space ripples to spread out like a giant net. Anyone who fell into the net would be greatly affected, like a flying insect caught in a net. Seeing the huge net that was formed by the purple gold light, Yi Chen maintained his flying back while using his Lotus Heart Sword Chi to defend against it. All of a sudden, one side was the purple gold net, while the other side was the blue one. The two huge nets clashed together. Pitter-patter. Countless beautiful fireworks bloomed, and the sky seemed to be ignited. Seeing this, Yuan Jin's face darkened. Although he was an experienced master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior, it would still be impossible for him to kill Yi Chen with only one attack. Yi Chen's power was not that important, but that kind of control he had over the battle had shocked even him, not to mention that they were still 10 miles away from each other. I would like to see how you are going to dodge this time." Yuan Jin was ready to use his mid-rank profound sense martial arts. Different from Yuan Yi, Yuan Jin's mid-rank profound sense martial arts had already reached 80% completion, and was not that far away from completion. With his late Sea of Souls realm cultivation, its power could only be described as horrifying. Taking a deep breath, Yuan Jin's face was covered in purple gold chi. Purple gold represented nobility, but when it appeared on Yuan Jin's face, it added an evil aura. He put his tongue on top of his mouth, and the Zhen Yuan inside his body started to circulate at twice the normal speed. Eventually, it all poured into his right arm, following the meridians of his right arm and reaching the center of his fist. As waves of Zhen Yuan poured in and compressed, Yuan Jin's fist turned into a purple gold color, looking like it was made of pure purple gold, full of horrifying power. Flowing gold godly fist. Yelling, Yuan Jin threw out a punch toward Yi Chen, who was 10 miles away. Boom. The air was blown up all of a sudden and the space pattern spread out. That purple gold fist power turned into a tornado, shooting out at an extreme speed. Along the way, the fist power started to scatter, turning into countless golden blades that looked like crescent moon. The golden blades were arranged in an orderly manner, forming into a dozens of meters wide hemisphere. Yi Chen frowned. He could tell that each of those golden blades had the power of a low-rank profound sense martial art. With this many of them shooting at him, Even a master-level Sea of Souls Realm warrior would have to dodge out of the way. Yi Chen was barely a master-level Sea of Souls Realm warrior, so he naturally would not be able to handle it. Yuan Jin, you are indeed shameless. A human figure suddenly appeared right in front of Yi Chen. It was indeed Murong Jishui. The Yuan family warrior who tried to stop him was only a normal master-level Sea of Souls Realm warrior. Under Murong Jishui's full-power attack, he was blown away within 3 attacks. Besides master-level Sea of Souls Realm warriors, who else could stop him? Boom, 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 boom. The golden blades were blocked out by a swirl barrier. Waiting until the last golden blade bounced out, the swirl barrier suddenly disappeared, and Murong Jishui's face looked a bit pale. Time was running out, so Murong Jishui could only perform a low-rank defensive profound sense martial art. Facing Yuan Jin's mid-rank profound sense martial art, he was still at a disadvantage. But of course his opponent was still worried about Murong Jishui, so he did not dare to kill him. Otherwise even Murong Jishui would not be able to handle it. Murong Jishui. Yuan Jin did not look friendly at all. Murong Jishui was still not scared. Yuan Jin, what you have done today will bring a lot of harm to the Yuan family. I hope you know it yourself. This brat had stopped the wedding so many times and wounded 2 of my sons. Why can't I teach him a lesson? But you, how dare you fight against our Yuan family? The demi-demon family does not belong to your Yuan family. Your Yuan family does not have the right to do anything to our Murong family. No matter what you say, it will be useless. This time I will lock you up in the Yuan family. If you dare to go against me, I will kill you without mercy. Yuan Jin did not dare to kill Yi Chen, but it did not mean that he would not dare to kill Murong Jishui. Killing Murong Jishui would be an internal matter of the demi-demon family, and the Dragon God Celestial Palace would not be able to interfere. Yi Chen flew right next to Murong Jishui, looking straight at Yuan Jin as he said coldly, Yuan Jin, you were the one who agreed for me to battle with your sons. Am I right? So what? You suddenly attacked me? What is the meaning of this? Do you really think that I am easy to bully? Or should I say, I will not hold you responsible for this? Battling with each other. I did not say anything about wounding the opponent. Don't you think what you have done is cruel? Yuan Jin's words were flawless, like an old fox who was furious but still calm. Yi Chen sneered, sorry, I admit that this was a battle but not a battle. Since it is a battle, injuries are inevitable. I think it is your Yuan family who cannot afford to lose. Brat Yi, although you are a martial genius favored by the Dragon King, as long as you do not become a life and death realm warrior, you better not be too arrogant. Yuan Jin stared at Yi Chen with an evil look, his eyes containing a powerful mental pressure. Yi Chen ignored the threat. Arrogant? It seems like only your Yuan family is worthy of this title. You 3 father and son, have you never felt that what you have done is arrogant? Presumptuous. Right now, what Yuan Jin hated the most was the fact that the Dragon King favored Yi Chen the most, which led to his hatred toward the Dragon God Celestial Palace. Without the Dragon King and the Dragon God Celestial Palace, killing Yi Chen would be like killing a dog to him. There would be no need for him to spend so much effort to stop them. Martial geniuses die easily. You better be careful. After saying that with a low voice, Yuan Jin flew down toward the plaza. Yi Chen and Murong Jishui exchanged a look before landing down as well. Seeing that Yi Chen had returned, Wang Shi and Yan Kuei both stopped what they were doing. Around them, there were a couple of people who were staring at the 2 angrily, all of whom were slightly wounded. Brother Yi, are you all right? Wang Shi asked. Yi Chen shook his head. Thank you, brother and sister, for your help. Hehe, we are brother disciples after all. Wang Shi laughed. Right next to him, Yan Kuei spat on the ground. Pooh. This old dog Yuan is so shameless. His son could not beat you, so he decided to do it himself. Yi Chen looked at Murong Qingqing with a serious look, then said to Yuan Jin, do you still remember the promise we made before? Right now, let go of Murong Qingqing's secret spell. Of course I remember. With so many people here, no matter how shameless Yuan Jin was, he would not go back on his word. Otherwise, within a couple of days, his shameless behavior would be spread all over the Gulan region, and even the other regions. Glancing at Yuan Yi, who was still unconscious, Yuan Jin walked behind Murong Qingqing. He pressed his palm in the air and countless gold light balls shot into her body. Making a slight noise, Murong Qingqing regained her consciousness. Lifting up the red silk cloth, Murong Qingqing saw Murong Jishui and Yi Chen. A joyful expression flashed through her face. Father Yi Chen. Murong Jishui said hurriedly, Qingqing, they did not do anything to you, did they? Murong Qingqing shook her head. Alright, where is your mother? Murong Qingqing frowned and said, before my Jin Yuan and consciousness were sealed, my mother was invited by a woman from the Yuan family. A woman. Murong Jishui seemed to have thought of something. Moving her eyes away from her father, Murong Qingqing looked at Yi Chen. Although her movement and speech had been sealed, she could still hear and feel everything that Yi Chen had done. So, when Yuan Jin attacked Yi Chen, she was very worried, but luckily nothing happened. Yi Chen smiled at Murong Qingqing. Just when he was about to say something, a woman's voice was heard, very crisp. Jishui. From the corner of a building not too far away, two extremely beautiful women walked over together. The one on the left was wearing a dark green long dress, looking very elegant. She was about 38 or 39 years old, and the one on the right was wearing a light yellow dress. Her appearance was no less beautiful than the former, but it was indeed her who had spoken. Seeing the latter, Murong Jishui froze. Yan Shiner. He would never forget this woman. This woman used to be the woman he loved the most, and he would occasionally see her in his dreams. Her appearance had changed a little, and her voice had become a lot smoother as well. But he could still recognize her at first glance. Taking a deep breath, Murong Jishui felt very complicated. In front of him, a cold sneer appeared on Yuan Jin's face. Chapter 554. So, this is the first girlfriend that Uncle Murong had mentioned? Yi Chen's eyes landed on the two girls. It was easy for him to tell who Murong Qingqing's mother was, since they were mother and daughter after all. Both their looks and temperament were quite similar, which was something that could not be hidden. After knowing who Murong Qingqing's mother was, the identity of the other girl would be obvious as well. Su Ruhui saw Murong Jishui's expression and made a face. But she did not say anything. She stood together with Murong Qingqing and started to talk in a low voice. It has been so many years. How have you been? For the past 30 years, Murong Jishui had been wanting to say this. Today he finally had the chance to say it. However, he did not know why he did not want to say it the first time he saw the girl. Saying it out loud was just a subconscious action. The girl named Yan Shiner stayed silent for a while before nodding slightly. A bitter smile appeared on Murong Jishui's face. All right, as long as I am doing well. I have no regrets anymore. After separating from you, I was in so much pain until Ruhui appeared in front of me. Hearing Murong Jishui mention her name, Su Ruhui was a bit happy. She pretended that she did not hear anything and continued to talk with Murong Qingqing. Hearing him, Yan Shiner felt a bit uneasy for a second. It was this 1 second of uneasiness that had caught Yi Chen's attention. He could see the dissatisfaction, jealousy, and anger in her eyes, which did not match her beautiful appearance at all. Glancing at Murong Jishui, Yi Chen thought to himself, Uncle, I am afraid that your first girlfriend has changed. Sister-in-law, this is your future niece-in-law. Her name is Murong Qingqing. Right then Yuan Jin suddenly spoke. The reason why he called Yan Shiner his sister-in-law was because she had married his second brother, Yuan Xiong. Yuan Xiong was not in the Yuan family right now, as he had gone out for some business. He would only be back in 2 to 3 months. Originally, that would be the day of Yuan Ye's wedding, but it had been brought forward by 3 months. Yan Shiner moved her eyes away from Murong Jishui and landed on Murong Qingqing, who was standing next to Su Ruhui. A surprised expression flashed through her face, since it was the first time she had seen Murong Qingqing. She had to admit that this girl's appearance and temperament were extremely rare. There should be people who were as beautiful as her, but she had never seen or heard of anyone who was more beautiful than her. Xianhou might be able to surpass her, but Xianhou was still a life-and-death realm warrior after all. This was Shui and his daughter. Yan Shiner squeezed her lips, then laughed and said, Brother, Yi is quite lucky to have such a beautiful fiancée. Together with him they would be a perfect match. As his second aunt, I am happy for him as well. Alright, why don't we continue with the wedding? Yuan Jin glanced at Murong Jishui. Someone did not agree, so I could not do anything about it. Yi and Hao were wounded as well, and they are still unconscious. Who dares to wound Yi and Hao? Yan Shiner flicked her eyebrows. Indeed it is me. Yi Chen did not need to wait for her to say it out, so he just admitted it himself. Yan Shiner glanced at Yi Chen. Do you know that the members of the demi-demon family will not marry outsiders? So, it is impossible for you and her to be together. If you just let it go, it would be good for both sides. Why do you have to break up a couple? Whether they are a couple or not, you should be clear about it. If they are a couple, then no one would be able to break them up. If they are not a couple, then there is no need to break them up, since they were separated in the first place. I was only doing what I was supposed to do. The one who should let it go should be the Yuan family. Yan Shiner said lightly, no one is meant to be together. There has to be a process of getting to know each other. Both of them have the perfect demi-demon bloodline, so they will be attracted to each other in the future. But, that is, if you do not come and ruin it. Yichin could not help but laugh. This woman was a bit unreasonable. Based on what you have said, a man and a woman would be a couple. On the other hand, breaking up a couple and putting one of them together with another person with a different surname would also make them a couple. So, what you have said is basically nothing. You are quite eloquent. But, you seem to have forgotten that they had already set the wedding date 2 years ago, and you are an outsider. Yi Qin glanced at Murong Jishui. This wedding date was forced by the Yuan family. You should know about it. So, I will not explain it to you. Yan Shiner sucked in a deep breath. She had underestimated Yi Qin a bit. This young man was not as simple as he looked. His tone was very calm, but it was sharp like a sword chi. Looking over at Murong Jishui, Yan Shiner frowned. Are you still angry about what happened back then? Actually, it is all in the past now. No matter what, it will not go back. If you do not want your daughter to marry into the Yuan family because of this, then you do not have to. Murong Jishui looked a bit surprised, as if he could not believe that these words were coming out of Yan Shiner's mouth. Somehow, he seemed to have understood something, so he said, I would not joke about my daughter's happiness. If my daughter and the Yuan family people were in love, then I would not say anything and agree right away. But, if it was forced, then I, as her father, would definitely not just stand there and watch it. You really think so? Yan Shiner did not seem to believe him. Murong Jishui said with a clear look, of course. About what happened back then, do you still hate me? Of course I do, but that kind of feeling has faded away a long time ago. Just like you said, it is all in the past now. No matter what, it will not go back. Plus, Ruhui and I are living a good life. Losing her would be the most painful thing for me. Therefore, what happened back then has nothing to do with this. Su Ruhui did not open her mouth the whole time. When the man was talking, the woman would just stand there and watch. Even if the love rival was right in front of her, she would still have to endure it. Hearing Murong Jishui's last sentence, her face lit up. The knot in her heart seemed to have disappeared all of a sudden, and her whole body felt relaxed. All these years, she had always known that there was someone else in Murong Jishui's heart. She had been troubled and frustrated before. This time, she had gone to the Yuan family with her daughter just to see that woman. When she saw her, she secretly compared herself to her and thought that she would not be weaker than her. Right now, after hearing Murong Jishui's words, she also realized that there was indeed someone else in Murong Jishui's heart. But just like her, it was a knot in his heart. Actually, there was no longer any feelings, only memories. Now that they had seen each other, and both of them had changed, the memories had disappeared naturally, and the knot in his heart had disappeared as well. She knew clearly that from now on, she would be the only one in Murong Jishui's heart. Without any reason, Su Ruhui was glad that the two of them had met. If they had not met, she did not know how much longer she would have been troubled. Yan Shiner's expression suddenly looked a bit bad for no reason at all. No one knew why she was upset or why she would be upset after hearing one sentence from Murong Jishui. Back in the day, she and Murong Jishui were indeed in love with each other, and it was very sweet until Yuan Xiong fell in love with her. To be honest, she did not dislike Yuan Xiong at all. Therefore she had been moved once. When she was being pressured by the Yuan family, other than the reluctance to let go of Murong Jishui, there was nothing else. After marrying into the Yuan family, her status had risen drastically. She had been living a pampered life, and after a long time her mentality had changed. Occasionally she would hear that Murong Jishui's cultivation had improved drastically after they had parted ways. He was just a slightly talented martial genius, but now he had grown into a famous martial genius. She was secretly happy about it. The man she used to be and the man she was with right now were both very talented. It was her happiness to be fought over by the two of them. This time, she thought that she would be able to see Murong Jishui's unwilling expression, as well as his love for her. But she was disappointed. Besides the excitement of meeting him for the first time, the rest of his expression was very calm. Hearing that he had already forgotten about what had happened in the past, she could not help but feel angry. This kind of anger was like having her toy taken away by someone else. Her eyes turned cold as she said, "Could you please give me some face and not stop this marriage? Actually, it is a good thing for your daughter to marry into the Yuan family. Only by joining the Yuan family will she be able to get more resources and achieve more." "Why do you want my daughter to marry into the Yuan family? Is it because they are the main family of the demi-demon race? Murong Jishui asked back. Yan Xiner froze a bit. Is it not good to marry into the Yuan family? You have changed. Murong Jishui looked at Yan Xiner deeply. I do not recognize you anymore. Taking a deep breath, he said with determination, I will not agree to this marriage. My daughter's happiness will be decided by herself. No one can interfere, including myself. You are so stubborn. Yan Xiner was a bit annoyed. Yes, I am stubborn. But, as long as my family is happy, what is wrong with being stubborn? I have already begged you like this. Are you really not going to give me any face at all? Just for the sake of what happened in the past? The perfect demi-demon bloodline was very important to the Yuan family. Otherwise she would not have begged Murong Jishui like this. Murong Jishui's heartlessness had made her hate him. Impossible. Murong Jishui said with certainty. You? Yan Xiner bit on her teeth as she pointed at Yi Chen and said with a cold voice, Murong Jishui, do not forget that the members of the demi-demon family are only allowed to marry within the family. Are you trying to break the rule of the demi-demon family by bringing him here? I do not know about their future. I only know that my daughter does not want to marry into the Yuan family, and no one can force her to do so. Ha! Yuan Jin sneered. How do you know that your daughter does not want to marry into the Yuan family? Perhaps you are the mastermind behind this. Just ask right now. Murong Jishui looked a bit gloomy. After he finished talking, he turned his head to look at Murong Qingqing. Qingqing, are you willing to marry into the Yuan family to Yuan Jin's son Yuan Yi? If not, just say it. They will not do anything to you. Murong Qingqing was about to say no when Yuan Jin sent a message to her. Little girl, to be honest, I have high hopes for you. Your talent is no weaker than yes. If you train it well, you will be able to become a life and death realm warrior in the future. Therefore, marrying into our Yuan family would be the best choice for you. Don't say no yet. Your mother has already been poisoned by the shadowless poison, which you should know about. This kind of poison is invisible and untraceable, and there is no way to find out about it. Naturally, there is no way to cure it. Even life and death realm warriors might not be able to cure it. There is only one antidote. If you say no, I will destroy it right on the spot and your mother will die because of you. Think about it carefully. Do not disappoint me and your mother. Hearing him, Murong Qingqing's expression changed drastically. She was shocked and angry. She looked at her mother, then looked at Yi Chen. She seemed to be struggling. At the same time, Yi Chen's expression changed as well. His silver pupils were cold and emotionless. Chapter 555. Yuan Jin, is this how your Yuan family does things? You are indeed unscrupulous. But today I will not let you get what you want. The Zhen Yuan communication was not something that could be read just by looking at the mouth. Yi Chen had a super powerful soul power, so after analyzing it, he was able to understand what Yuan Jin had said to Murong Qingqing. He was shocked and angered at the same time. He could not believe that this Yuan Jin would do something like this. Poisoning a member of the demi-demon family. Was he not afraid of causing an internal conflict within the demi-demon family? Damn it! Do you know what I am talking about? Yuan Jin looked at Murong Qingqing with hatred. He thought that it was Murong Qingqing who had told Yi Chen about it. Murong Qingqing was shocked. Her mind was in a mess and she could not think of telling anyone. Plus, it was about her mother's life after all. Murong Jishui could tell that something was not right, so he asked Yi Chen, what happened? Su Ruhui looked over as well. Yi Chen thought about it and decided to tell the truth. Since it was poison, there must be a way to cure it. He could just ask the Dragon King for help. With his top king level power, this shadowless poison should not be a problem for him. With a dark look on his face, he said, Auntie was poisoned by the Yuan family to threaten Murong Qingqing. Hearing him, Murong Jishui was so angry that he almost puked out blood. He threw out a palm attack toward Yuan Jin. Old man, you dare to poison Ruhui? Today it will be either you or me. Boom. Chi flow exploded as Yuan Jin blocked out Murong Jishui's attack. How dare you? Take him down. How dare you? Seeing Murong Jishui attacking their headmaster, all of the powerful warriors of the Yuan family had flames burning in their eyes. They felt that it was not something that could be tolerated, so they wanted to make a move. Stop. Su Ruhui yelled out. Waiting until both of them had calmed down a bit, Su Ruhui said with a cold face, Yuan Jin, I am also a member of the demi-demon family. You poisoning me, do you think it is too much? Also, do not forget that I am a member of the Su family. Although we are not as powerful as your Yuan family, we will not let anyone bully us. Yuan Jin hated Yi Chen to the bone. This poisoning thing could not be brought out in the open. It was exactly because he thought that Murong Qingqing would not tell the truth that he had used it as a threat. Taking a deep breath, Yuan Jin said slowly, I did not want to do this, but you are forcing me. If you agree to this marriage, I will hand over the antidote right away. As for the Su family, it seems like you have already been kicked out of your family. I believe they would not go against our Yuan family just because of you. You're despicable. No matter how well-mannered Su Ruhui was, she was still infuriated. Those who want to achieve great things don't bother with trifles. Moreover, their union is the most perfect thing for the demi-demon clan. You guys are so stubborn that you are the scourge of the demi-demon clan. Yuan Jin's voice was cold. Third brother, let's fight with them. Murong Wu and the 10 powerful warriors from the Murong family had just woken up from their stupor, standing behind the few of them quietly. Murong Jishui suppressed the anger that was burning like a volcano inside him as he said with a low voice, Yuan Jin, hand over the antidote, and there will still be a chance for us to turn this around. Otherwise, I will not stop until you die. Either you die or I die. Yuan Jin did not answer Murong Jishui. He turned his head to look at Murong Qingqing. Little girl, your mother's life is in your hands. I will ask you one more time. Do you agree or not? If you do not agree, then this only antidote will be gone forever. As he spoke, he took out a white medicine bottle. His palm was shining with a purple gold light. As long as he pushed out his Zhen Yuan, this bottle would be destroyed into nothingness. Su Ruhui said angrily, Qingqing, do not agree. Even if you agree, I will not be happy for the rest of my life. Plus, according to what I know, the shadowless poison is not incurable. It's just that the ingredients are hard to find. Sacrificing her daughter's happiness for her own life was something that she could not do. Murong Jishui had a complicated look on his face. He thought about it but did not say anything. Father, mother? Murong Qingqing wanted to say something but stopped. She seemed to be struggling. Murong Jishui sighed, listen to your mother. Do not agree. I do not believe that there is no antidote for this shadowless poison. Then he yelled at Yuan Jin, there are so many people here looking at you. Do you think you still have the face? You are the scourge of the demi-demon family. Damn it. Yuan Jin's face twisted a little. Indeed, what he had done would make him a laughingstock for everyone in the Gulan region. But since he had already made it this far, there was no turning back. As long as he handed over the antidote, his reputation would be restored. What a joke. He might as well go all the way and see who would be the one laughing in the end. The rumors would eventually disappear. Little girl, do you agree or not? Crack. The white medicine bottle in Yuan Jin's hand started to crack, seeming like it would shatter at any second. Do not agree. Su Ruhui stared at Yuan Jin angrily. Tightening the gold sword in his hand, Yi Chen's expression was getting colder and colder. He could not say anything to make Murong Qingqing say no, since it was related to his mother's life. Of course, no matter how it would end up, Yuan Jin and his son had already been listed as his targets. Sorry, I will not say yes. Murong Qingqing bit on her pearly white teeth as she said this. Good. 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 Yuan Jin said the word good 3 times in a row, and then the white bottle in his hand shattered with a bang, completely turning into nothingness. Yuan Jin. Murong Jishui's eyes were bloodshot. Jishui. Su Ruhui grabbed onto Murong Jishui. In the Yuan family, you will not be able to win against them. Anyway, this shadowless poison is not without an antidote. We can think of something when we get back. It would be better than losing our lives here or being locked up. Oh. Murong Jishui took a couple of deep breaths. His wife was right. It would not be wise to fight with them here, and it would also give the Yuan family an excuse to attack them. Therefore, no matter how angry he was, he would have to hold it in. He would take it out later. Let's go. Murong Jishui stared at Yuan Jin and said to his people. Go. Where do you think you are going? Murong Jishui, you have offended our Yuan family time and time again. Right now, as the headmaster of our Yuan family, I am going to capture you. Little brat Yi, this is our demi-demon family's business. If you dare to make a move, I will not go easy on you. Come. Surround them. The Yuan family had lost a lot of face. Yuan Jin did not even say anything before asking them to leave. It was like a double loss for them. How dare you? Su Ruhui and Murong Jishui yelled at the same time. Why not? Everyone listen up. Capture Murong Jishui for me. If anyone else dares to move, kill them. With Yuan Jin's order, the powerful warriors of the Yuan family appeared from all directions, surrounding Murong Jishui and his people. Chen. Taking out his gold sword, Yi Chen said, Sorry, but today you are so stubborn. I will have to fight with your Yuan family. Wang Shi and Yan Kuei stood up. Junior brother Yi will accompany you. Yuan Jin, you've shown off enough today. Let's see how you explain to our dragon god celestial palace in the future. I'll report everything that happened today in full detail. You have gone too far. Do it. Yuan Jin's 3 corpses were infuriated. He waved his palm. Boom, boom, boom. The whole plaza was in chaos. Dozens of Yuan family warriors attacked the dozens of people on Yi Chen's side. As for the other guests, they had already backed out of the area, watching this scene with interest. Yuan Jin and a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior had joined hands to attack Murong Jishui. Judging on power, Yuan Jin was not weaker than Murong Jishui, and was actually slightly more powerful. Together with the other master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior, they would be able to take down Murong Jishui easily. As for the rest of the people, they would not be an opponent for the Yuan family at all. Meanwhile, Yan Shiner was facing Su Ruhui, and they did not see eye to eye with each other. Right then, the Yuan family and the Murong family had turned against each other, so naturally they were treating each other as enemies. Dang. After blowing away a powerful warrior from the Yuan family with one sword attack, Yi Chen realized that it was not going to be good. If this continued, all the warriors from the Murong family would be killed sooner or later. No choice. I guess I will have to use my Thunder Disaster Sword then. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Yi Chen would not reveal his semi-extreme rank great sword in front of everyone. Right then he could not care about that anymore. Putting the gold sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen took out his Thunder Disaster Sword and poured his Zhen Yuan into it. The sword body turned into a beam of lightning, stretching and shrinking. With one sword attack, a Yuan family warrior's arm fell off as he backed out while screaming. Kill? With the Thunder Disaster Sword in his hand, Yi Chen's battling power increased drastically. He killed his way in and out of the Yuan family warriors, and not a single one of them could stop him. Soon there were already 4 warriors who had been wounded badly by his sword. It is a semi-extreme rank great sword. Outside of the stage, someone could tell the rank of the sword. It is indeed a semi-extreme rank great sword. This power is so horrifying. Falling into his hands is indeed a waste. I am a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior. If I have a semi-extreme rank great sword in my hand, who would be my opponent below the king warriors? I would be able to go anywhere in the world. A lot of people started to get greedy. Although they did not dare to kill Yi Chen, they would still dare to steal the sword secretly, since it was too important for them. Gold Resonant Radiant Sword. Facing the area with the most warriors of the Yuan family, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack, performing his most powerful sword movement, the Gold Resonant Radiant Sword. That thick sword light was like a scythe that was harvesting lives. A row of Yuan family warriors fell down, and no one knew if they were still alive or dead. Those who were closer had also been wounded by the sword light, puking out blood continuously. Fight your way out. Cutting out a gap, Yi Chen yelled to everyone. Bastard. Where did that brat get that semi-extreme rank greatsword? In the air, Yuan Jin had sensed the weird situation down there, so he could not help but look down. What he saw made him furious. Dozens of Sea of Souls realm warriors from the Yuan family had been knocked out, and some of the remaining ones were wounded as well. Their battling power had been greatly reduced. On the other side, only 3 to 5 warriors from the Murong family had been wounded, and none of them had been knocked out. Murong Jishui had also seen the scene down there, and he let out a breath of relief. Normally, only Sea of Souls realm warriors would be able to join in the battle. Therefore, no matter how many warriors there were in the Yuan family, most of them would not be able to make a difference. Once one reached the life and death realm, one warrior's power would be able to fight against the super martial school or family. Chapter 556. Murong Jishui, don't even think about it anymore. Today you will not be able to get out of the Yuan family alive. Yuan Jin kept his composure. He knew that as long as he waited for a while, the other Sea of Souls realm warriors of the Yuan family would arrive, and his main goal was to take down Murong Jishui. Murong Jishui sneered, with the 2 of you teaming up, I indeed would not be able to win. But if you want to take me down, it would be impossible. He and Yuan Jin were more or less the same. Adding on a normal Sea of Souls realm master level warrior, they might be able to make him suffer a bit. But if he wanted to leave, they would not be able to stop him either. Huh? Do you really think so? Yuan Jin's speed was like lightning as he continued to attack while the master level Sea of Souls realm warrior who was teaming up with him helped out on the side. Down below, the plaza of the Yuan family was full of holes, and most of the buildings around had been destroyed as well. From time to time, there would be warriors of the Yuan family flying over from a certain direction and joining the battle. Therefore, the number of warriors attacking the Yuan family was always around 30. This brat is powerful. Let the 5 of us work together to hold him off. With the Thunder Disaster Sword in his hand, Yi Chen was extremely powerful. Wherever he went, there would be blood rain and thunder light. Whenever the sword light flashed once, there would be people falling down with their hands covering their wounds. No one could stop him. Seeing that the warriors of the Yuan family would be heavily injured, the 5 top spirit warriors went up to fight against Yi Chen. They were the masters of the Yuan family, and their ranks were not low. Speed Sword Hell. If it were the gold sword performing the Speed Sword Hell, each sword shadow's power would only be equivalent to a normal Soul Realm warrior's full power attack. But it was performed by the Thunder Disaster Sword, which increased the power to that of a spirit warrior's full power attack. Countless sword shadows spread out, looking like a blue ocean of light attacking out. And Yi Chen was the source of that blue light ocean, the starting point of the attack. How could he perform this many sword shadows at the same time? Each of them is equivalent to a normal spirit warrior's full power attack. He might be able to block out 10 of them, but he might not be able to block out 20 or even 30. The 5 of them came with an aggressive aura, but they were leaving in a bad shape. Even the Yuan family warriors around them had been wounded by the sharp sword shadows. Brat, you dare. Another peak expert of Yuan clan rushed over from afar. This person was the 3rd-ranked elder of Yuan clan, named Yuan Lai. His weapon was a huge blade. The blade's body was as red as fire, and as soon as he slashed out, a fiery blade energy swept out in all directions. Kill. Yi Chen unsheathed the gold sword with his left hand and performed a cross slash with the Thunder Disaster Sword. The 2 sword lights, one straight and one reverse, seemed like a pair of executioner's hands as they went against the flaming blade energy. Not only did they split the blade energy apart, they even carried a lot of it to attack Yuan Lai. Damn it, when did this brat become a guru? No, that sword. Yuan Lai had seen Yi Chen's portrait before, so he could recognize him at a glance. In his impression, Yi Chen was still far from the master level, so it was impossible for him to be his opponent. At this moment, seeing the opponent's counterattack was so sharp that even part of his flame blade energy was swept back, he was shocked. After the initial shock, he immediately realized that it was the Thunder Disaster Sword that was causing trouble, and not Yi Chen's own strength. Bang! Yuan Lai was, after all, a Sea of Soul master, so it was impossible for him to be defeated in one strike. Holding the blade with both hands, he raised it horizontally like a reef on the shore, enduring the waves all year round, unmoving and steady like Mount Tai. The moment the sword light and flame blade energy arrived, they were deflected without the slightest injury. The semi-supreme grade sword is a waste in your hands. I'll take care of it for you. Let go. With a shake of his body, Yuan Lai's aura changed from that of a reef to that of a volcano. His body contained an extremely frightening flame power. Holding the blade with both hands, he slashed 18 times toward Yi Chen. Each slash was extremely powerful, and the scorching blade wind melted the potholed ground into crystals. Sword Light Flight Art. A sword light flickered outside Yi Chen's body, and he instantly arrived in the sky. The gold sword had long since returned to its scabbard. The Thunder Disaster Sword in his hand was like a wriggling lightning as it slashed toward Yuan Lai below. The sword light sliced through the space, creating ripples like water. What a fast speed. Yuan Lai had just returned to Yuan clan, so he didn't know that Yi Chen still had this ace up his sleeve. His blade energy missed, but his figure flickered as well. With a speed as explosive as fire, he dodged Yi Chen's strongest sword strike. And the movement technique contains the profound of fire. Yi Chen's brows creased. Among the major attributes, thunder and wind held the advantage in terms of speed. However, this was only under normal circumstances. Powerful experts could dig out other attributes that could aid in speed. For example, fire was the fastest when it burst out. Of course, it couldn't last as long as thunder and wind, so it could only burst out for a short period of time. Kid Yi, I'm the 3rd elder of Yuan clan. Do you think you can defeat me? Yuan Lai appeared behind Yi Chen. He stretched out his left hand and a scarlet whirlpool shot out. The whirlpool contained a powerful suction force, pulling the air like blades as it tried to pull Yi Chen over. Yi Chen knew that although Yuan Lai wasn't as powerful as Yuan Jin, he was still a powerful Sea of Soul master-level expert. Ordinary master-level experts couldn't compare to him. Wanting to defeat him in a short period of time was indeed impossible. However, at this moment there was no way out. Even if he couldn't fight, he had to. Gold resonant radiance. The intense battle intent caused Yi Chen's aura to become as sharp as a sword. At this critical moment, he had comprehended the gold resonant radiance to greater completion. 90% completion and greater completion seemed to only be 10% difference, but the effect was completely different. 90% completion meant that there were still flaws, while greater completion meant complete perfection. Be it sword aura or sword energy, they couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Chop. The Thunder Disaster Sword was dyed with a layer of gold as Yi Chen's sword slashed across the sky. The Scarlet Whirlpool was split into two, and the dazzling golden Sawtooth Sword light carried an unstoppable sword aura as it shot toward Yuan Lai. What? Breakthrough in battle. Yuan Lai was stunned. It was rumored that there were some geniuses who were good at fighting. The more they fought, the stronger they would become. They would often be able to break through their bottlenecks under extreme pressure and advance a step further. Against such geniuses, a slight advantage wasn't considered an advantage, because the opponent could instantly turn this advantage into nothing. The opponent's advantage would only make him stronger, it would be his stepping stone. Bastard! You dare to use me as a stepping stone? Yuan Lai was enraged. He slashed out with a fiery aura and a fiery blade aura. His entire body seemed like a flaming blade, imposing and tyrannical. Rumble. The sword light and blade energy collided, and the ground within several li surged like waves in the sea. Soon after, beams of sword light and blade energy soared into the sky, turning the area into a blade and sword hell. Be it Yuan clan's experts or Murong clan's experts, they all stopped. They discovered that this sword light and blade energy had a killing power that could pierce through their protective Zhenyuan. As for the area several li away, it seemed to be separated by an invisible chi wall. As soon as the surging ground reached there, it was pushed back. It was the Yuan clan's demonic human king, protecting the clan's buildings from being damaged. Only the plaza and the surrounding area were left as the battleground. Of course, although the demonic human king of Yuan clan could instantly kill anyone here, it was precisely because he was a demonic human king that he could not make a move. He could not even enter the battlefield. Yi Chen was a genius favored by the Dragon King. If they made a move, the Dragon King might personally pay a visit to the Yuan clan in the future. It was fine if the Yuan clan bullied him with numbers, but even a demonic human king was making a move. It was clear that the Yuan clan did not put him in their eyes. Junior brother Yi is too ferocious. Almost all of the Murong clan's experts were injured, but Wang Shi and Yan Kuei were unscathed. After all, they were Dragon God Celestial Palace's people, and the Yuan clan's experts wouldn't dare to do anything to them. At most, they could only hold them back and prevent them from supporting others. Su Ruhui nodded. He is indeed a dragon among men, a sword Dao genius. After saying these words, her brows creased. In the sky, Murong Jishui was being pushed back again and again. Under the joint attack of two Sea of Soul Realm Masters, it was already not easy for him to hold on until now. Murong Jishui, surrender. Otherwise you'll be buried here today. Yuan Jin's fist shot out countless golden blades, slicing through the void. In your dreams. Murong Jishui resisted with all his might, pushing his strength to the limit. Rumble. On one side, Yi Chen was facing Yuan Lai, while on the other side, Yuan Jin and the Yuan clan's elders were facing Murong Jishui. The two battlefields were crisscrossing, and the space rippled like water. The others temporarily stopped and raised their heads to watch. All of you stop. Right at this moment, a loud roar came from outside the Yuan clan. This roar was majestic and powerful, as if the voice had condensed into steel and was forcibly transmitted into everyone's ears. Those with slightly lower cultivation base paled and felt dizzy, while those with higher cultivation base revealed astonished expressions. Palace leader. Yao Yifeng suddenly raised his head and looked outside the Yuan clan's gate. Palace leader has arrived. Wang Shi and Yan Kuei were overjoyed. Although they were a bit surprised that the palace leader had arrived so quickly, it was still a good thing. Swish, swish, swish. 3 silhouettes dashed over and appeared on the square. The person in the lead was a burly man in his 50s. He wore a yellow robe that was embroidered with an angry dragon that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Still not stopping? The yellow-robed middle-aged man waved his wide sleeves, slapping 2 palms toward the 2 battlefields in the sky. The ferocious palm energy brought with it a loud vibrating sound. Yi Chen and Yuan Lai only felt a powerful pressure, and they couldn't help but retreat. On the other side, Yuan Jin and Murong Jishui also stopped. Under this ferocious palm energy they didn't feel any better. So powerful. Yi Chen's pupils shrank. The yellow-robed middle-aged man was clearly a Sea of Soul master. But, be it Yuan Jin or Yuan Lai, neither of them was half as strong as him. A mere palm attack from a distance was enough to separate them, and the aftershock of the palm energy caused his blood and chi to boil. Seeing the yellow-robed middle-aged man, Yuan Jin's complexion changed. He descended from the sky and cupped his fists. So, it's Palace Leader Zhang. This one is Yuan clan's great elder Yuan Jin. What's going on? The yellow-robed middle-aged man was precisely Dragon God Celestial Palace's Yellow Dragon Palace's palace leader Zhang Jingguang. After receiving the message from Wang Shi and Yan Kuei, he had rushed through the night and arrived at Yuan clan. Before entering seclusion, palace leader had instructed him to nurture Yi Chen as the future palace leader. Of course, it might not necessarily be Yellow Dragon Palace leader. Chapter 557. The leader of the Murong family, Murong Jishui, has offended my Yuan family. In order to protect the dignity of my family, I am trying to capture him. Yuan Jin was quite apprehensive of Zhang Jingguang. Although the latter was not a famous Sea of Souls realm master-level warrior, he was still a top master-level warrior. The gap between them was not 1,000 but at least 800. Even two of them would not be his opponent. Most importantly, the latter was the leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace. Since he could not get along with Yi Chen, it could be said that Yi Chen was not a member of the Dragon God Celestial Palace. However, Zhang Jingguang was clearly a member of the Dragon God Celestial Palace. Moreover, he was one of the upper echelons, the leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace. Zhang Jingguang turned his head and looked at Yi Chen. Then what's the matter with Yi Chen exchanging blows with him? Don't your people know that Yi Chen is a genius favored by Palace Master? Or perhaps you don't put my Palace Master in your eyes at all. That's why you're acting so unbridled and acting as you please. Zhang Jingguang was obviously biased toward Yi Chen, going straight to the point. Leader? Yao Yifeng was anxious. If Zhang Jingguang was biased toward Yi Chen, then he would not have a good ending. It was the opposite of his original plan. In fact, Zhang Jingguang's arrival was out of his expectation, catching him off guard. You shut up. Zhang Jingguang glared at Yao Yifeng. He had already learned the whole story from Wang Shi and Yan Kuei. Yao Yifeng's actions had made him very angry. Yi Chen was a martial genius valued by the palace master, but Yao Yifeng had treated him like this. It was simply too lawless, thinking too highly of himself. Yao Yifeng swallowed back the words he was about to say. He then vaguely glanced at Yi Chen, a trace of killing intent appearing in the depths of his pupils. Yuan Jin saw Zhang Jingguang's attitude toward Yao Yifeng, and his brows creased even more. Yi Chen's relationship with the Murong family is not shallow. Therefore he tried to stop our Yuan family from capturing Murong Jishui. Yuan Lai went up to stall him, not to make things difficult for him. Yan Kuei sneered, Elder Yuan, your ability to lie through your teeth is indeed impressive. I won't mention the matter of Mo Luo's sneak attacking junior brother Yi, since you wouldn't admit it even if I told you. Afterward, I heard your clansman asking junior brother Yi to kneel down and apologize, and if he didn't he wouldn't be allowed to leave. Then, your son and junior brother Yi had a fair competition, and because your son was injured, you attacked out of anger, saying that you would teach junior brother Yi a lesson for our Dragon God Celestial Palace. Oh, there is such a thing. Zhang Jingguang narrowed his eyes. Yuan Jin was quite angered by Yan Kuei, but he braced himself and said, Today is after all my son's wedding day. Yi Chen and the Murong family's people came to cause trouble. Our Yuan family couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Therefore, some hot-blooded actions were unavoidable. Glancing at the two towers of Yuan family, Zhang Jingguang said, All right, I don't care what happened during this period. I'm taking Yi Chen away now. Do you have any objections? Of course not. Even if Yuan Jin hated Yi Chen to the bone, he wouldn't dare to say anything. He was very clear that if he went against Zhang Jingguang, his family would very likely abandon him. The family could support him in the dark, but they wouldn't allow him to do so openly. Yi Chen cupped his fists and said, Greetings, Hall Leader Zhang. Zhang Jingguang faintly smiled and nodded, Not bad. Although you're relying on a half-step extreme-grade sword, you can contend against a master-level expert of the Yuan family and even gain a slight advantage. This kind of strength is even above Li Shaoling. Thank you for your praise, Hall Leader Zhang. Yi Chen continued, The Murong family is Yi Chen's friend. As friends we should advance and retreat together. His meaning was that if he left, the Murong family's people would also have to leave. Hearing these words, Zhang Jingguang turned his head toward Yuan Jin and said, "In that case I'll take the Murong family's people as well. Otherwise I won't be able to take Yi Chen." "This is not appropriate, right?" Yuan Jin's complexion turned gloomy. "What? You don't want to?" Zhang Jingguang's complexion also turned gloomy. "Murong Jishui has offended my Yuan family. If we let him leave like this, what dignity does my Yuan family have? Others can leave but not him. I heard that you forced his daughter first. So what if he's hot-blooded? I'll be taking him away. You don't need to see me off." Zhang Jingguang's figure was tall and sturdy, and his words were even more domineering. Yuan Jin tightened his fists and said in a low voice, "Hall leader Zhang, this is my demonic clan's matter. I ask you not to interfere." "So what if I interfere?" Yuan Jin's eyes turned sharp. "Hall leader Zhang, respect is mutual. I ask you not to force me." Zhang Jingguang looked straight at Yuan Jin and suddenly burst into laughter. "Force you? What qualifications do you have for me to force you? If I force you, what are you going to do? Send out experts to kill me? It's not that I'm looking down on you or your Yuan family. I alone am enough to contend against all the experts of your Yuan family. If you don't believe me, you can try." It was unrealistic for one person to contend against all the Sea of Soul Realm experts of Yuan family. However, Zhang Jingguang still had confidence in the few experts present. Yuan Jin's complexion turned extremely unsightly. Blue veins popped out on his forehead. Humiliation, absolute humiliation. Yuan Jin had never suffered such humiliation before. "What do you think? I don't mind warming up a bit." Zhang Jingguang's expression was very relaxed. "Jiner, let them go." Just as Yuan Jin was feeling extremely humiliated, a voice entered his ears. It was a demonic human king of Yuan family. "Old ancestor has spoken." Yuan Jin was startled, but he immediately clenched his teeth and said, "As Hall leader Zhang wishes." Hall leader Zhang. Seeing that Zhang Jingguang was about to leave with Murong family's people, Murong Jishui was naturally happy. However, there was something that worried him even more. "What is it?" Zhang Jingguang looked at Murong Jishui. Yi Chen spoke in place of Murong Jishui. "Hall leader Zhang, Yuan family has poisoned Uncle Murong's wife. Uncle Murong wants to ask if Yuan family has the antidote." "Poisoned?" Zhang Jingguang was somewhat astonished. He truly didn't expect Yuan family to do something like poisoning. Moreover, it was brought out in the open. This was truly a great loss of face. "Hall leader Zhang, there is only one antidote and it has already been destroyed by me. There is no second antidote." Yuan Jin coldly said. "You really destroyed it?" Murong Jishui had some hope in his heart. He hoped that Yuan Jin's destruction was fake. Of course it's destroyed." Yuan Jin was a bit pleased. Shadowless poison was one of the rare poisons under the heavens, and the ingredients to concoct it were extremely hard to find. Otherwise, Yuan family wouldn't only have one antidote. It should be known that this thing was even rarer than the 3 calamity bewitching powder. "Since there is no antidote, let's go." Zhang Jingguang didn't want to know whether Yuan Jin had the antidote or not, because it made no difference. If the other party didn't want to hand it over, he wouldn't be able to do anything unless he was a life and death king. Only a king's request would the other party not dare to resist, unless they wanted to be exterminated. "Jishui, let's go. Let's go back and think of something." Su Ruhui, on the other hand, was quite open-minded as she consoled Murong Jishui. Murong Jishui silently nodded. Waiting until Zhang Jingguang, Yi Chen and the rest left, Yuan Jin sucked in a deep breath and suddenly slammed his palm on the potholed plaza. With a peng sound, a crack appeared on the plaza. Today, Yuan family could be said to have suffered a double loss. They had become the laughingstock of everyone present, and he, Yuan Jin, was even more of a laughingstock. In the main hall of Yellow Dragon Palace, Zhang Jingguang sat on the main seat while Yao Yifeng, Yi Chen and the rest sat below. As for the Murong family's people, they were arranged to stay in other buildings. "Yao Yifeng, do you know your crime?" Zhang Jingguang coldly looked at Yao Yifeng below. Yao Yifeng still wanted to argue. "Leader Yi Chen is causing trouble everywhere. Sooner or later, he will bring trouble to our Dragon God Celestial Palace. Yao Yifeng is thinking for the sake of the Dragon God Celestial Palace. Leader, please investigate this." "Investigate? Investigate you?" "Leader?" Yao Yifeng's heart was filled with fear and anger. It was all because of Yi Chen. It was all Yi Chen's fault. Without him, he wouldn't have to suffer. If he didn't have a good time, Yi Chen wouldn't have a good time either. "Your matter, come back with me. Wang Shi, after Yao Yifeng leaves, you will temporarily take charge of the Yellow Dragon Palace. Yan Kuei, you will assist him. I will send a new deputy after a while. Zhang Jingguang didn't want to waste any more words with Yao Yifeng. What kind of person was Yi Qin? He was the future savior of the Dragon God Celestial Palace. He was very clear about the palace's current situation, and it was truly urgent. They were waiting for a genius to fully mature, and Yi Qin was undoubtedly the most promising one among them. Yao Yifeng actually dared to target Yi Qin. If Yi Qin became hostile toward the palace because of this, even 100 Yao Yifengs wouldn't be enough. Fortunately, Wang Shi and Yan Kuei had informed him in time. Otherwise it would truly be a big deal. What? Yao Yifeng didn't dare to believe his ears. He was going to be stripped of his deputy position? He was going to be replaced by a new deputy just because he had treated Yi Qin unfairly? Leader, although Yao Yifeng is guilty, it is not to this extent. Yao Yifeng may not have contributed much to the palace, but he has worked hard. I, Yao Yifeng, am not satisfied with this punishment. Yao Yifeng was somewhat hysterical. Zhang Jingguang coldly snorted, not satisfied? Come back with me and you'll be satisfied. Yellow dragon sealing great art. Abruptly standing up, Zhang Jingguang tossed out a yellow ball of light. The ball floated before his chest. He formed a seal with both hands and with a rumble the entire yellow dragon palace branch trembled. Soon after, the shadow of a yellow dragon rushed out of the ball of light, appearing above Yao Yifeng and enveloping him within. Ah! Yao Yifeng wanted to escape from the yellow dragon shadow, but in the next moment, dozens of light dots flickered on its body. The moment they appeared, the yellow dragon shadow rapidly shrunk and entered Yao Yifeng's body. My Zhenyuan? And my physical strength? Yao Yifeng discovered that he was unable to use Zhenyuan. Even his meridians had been sealed, and his body was limp and powerless. It was as if there was a yellow dragon coiling inside his body, constantly devouring his Zhenyuan and blood qi. Without these two he could only use his martial will. However, without the support of blood qi, his martial will would gradually weaken. It should be known that the soul and the body were connected. Chapter 558. You two take him away and keep a close eye on him. Zhang Jingguang said to the two he brought. Yes. These two were also Taoist-level experts. Watching over Yao Yifeng, who had lost his Zhenyuan, was a piece of cake. They immediately stepped forward and pulled him away. Before leaving, Yao Yifeng shot a venomous glance at Yi Qin, as if he wanted to imprint the latter in his eyes. However, Yi Qin didn't feel anything and remained indifferent. Yi Qin, this is the first time we've met. You're much more outstanding than I imagined. Zhang Jingguang revealed a faint smile and said to Yi Qin. Yi Qin faintly smiled and casually asked, Hall Leader Zhang, I wonder how you'll punish him. A Sea of Soul Master should be very important to Dragon God Celestial Palace, right? Sea of Soul Masters were not cabbages. If a 6th grade sect had a Sea of Soul Master, they would become one of the peak 6th grade sections. For 5th grade sects, the number of Sea of Soul Masters was also the key to their comprehensive strength. Using the words of Yi Chen's world, life and death kings were nuclear weapons, while Sea of Soul Masters were guided missiles. Nuclear weapons couldn't be used casually, so guided missiles became the main weapons, each having their own uses. Zhang Jingguang said, since he did something wrong he has to atone for it. His crime isn't worthy of death. Therefore I'll report to the higher-ups and send him to Blood Battle Ocean. He'll render meritorious service for Dragon God Celestial Palace and atone for his crimes. Blood Battle Ocean? Yi Qin could feel the killing intent in this name. Zhang Jingguang smiled. Blood Battle Ocean is rich in resources. All the major forces of Eastern Shallow Ocean have their troops stationed there. It's a cruel place. Faintly nodding, Yi Qin was clear that when it came to the fight for resources, it would be hard to not be cruel. Yi Qin, what's your strength? Zhang Jingguang suddenly asked. Yi Qin pondered for a moment, then said, without using the Thunder Disaster Sword, I should be able to contend against ordinary Sea of Soul Masters. However, if I were to encounter an ordinary Sea of Soul Master with an extremely fast speed, I would be at a disadvantage. Defense had always been Yi Chen's weakness. Facing a Sea of Souls Realm Master-level warrior with a fast speed, this weakness would be magnified. You are at the peak of early Sea of Soul Realm, and you haven't trained any defensive profound sense martial skills. So, it is inevitable that your defense will be low. Actually, Zhang Jingguang was already very surprised. There were 3 criteria to be a master-level Sea of Souls Realm warrior. First, a late Sea of Souls Realm cultivation. Second, a couple of low-rank profound sense martial arts and 1 mid-rank profound sense martial art. Third, a rank 4 martial spirit. Of course, since some people were special in certain areas, even if one of the three did not meet the criteria, they could still be considered as a master-level warrior as long as their overall power was enough. Yi Chen's cultivation and profound sense martial arts did not meet the criteria, but with only his powerful sword spirit, he was able to enter the master-level warrior realm. It was not hard to imagine how powerful he was. This kind of genius is hard to find in the whole world. No wonder Palace Master would list him as the #1 seed of Dragon God Celestial Palace. Even Li Shaoling and the rest are ranked behind him. Li Shaoling was one of the candidates for Yellow Dragon Hall's deputy. His overall strength might not be as good as Yi Chen's, but he was strong in all aspects. His cultivation base was at the peak of Mid-Sea of Soul Realm, and he was already studying mid-rank profound sense martial skills. His martial spirit was at the 4th rank. Originally, Zhang Jingguang was more optimistic about Li Shaoling. However, after seeing Yi Chen he changed his opinion. In comparison, Yi Chen was younger and his potential was greater. Especially his sword spirit, it was simply world-shaking. Once he matured in other aspects, his accomplishments would be astonishing. Yao Yifeng, this matter was an accident. I hope you don't take it to heart. Many people of my Dragon God Celestial Palace attach great importance to you. Zhang Jingguang said with a stern expression. Yi Chen laughed involuntarily. Hallmaster Zhang is overthinking things. When the forest is big there are all kinds of birds. I won't take this matter to heart. It's good that you can think this way. Zhang Jingguang let out a sigh of relief. He had long heard of Yi Chen's character, and after seeing it today he felt that it was true. Yi Chen recalled the matter of Murong Qingqing's mother and said with a frown, Hallmaster Zhang, how long will the shadowless poison flare up? Zhang Jingguang's face turned cold. The shadowless poison is one of the most mysterious poisons under the heavens. After being poisoned, it becomes traceless and formless, making it impossible to find the source. Precisely because of this, the shadowless poisons flare up a bit later. It won't be fatal immediately, but once it does, nobody can save it, including life and death kings. The duration of the shadowless poison's flare-up is related to the grade of the poisoned person's spirit body. If a Sea of Soul Realm expert with a first-step spirit body is poisoned, it will be fatal in 3 days. If a second-step spirit body is poisoned, it will be 10 days and a third-step spirit body is 1 month. As for martial artists under Sea of Soul Realm, it will be impossible to save them in 1 day. 1 month. Su Ruhui had a third-step spirit body, which meant that she only had a month to live. They had to find a way to save her within a month. Then is there any way for life and death kings to save her? Zhang Jingguang shook his head. I don't know either. The shadowless poison is extremely rare, and very few people are poisoned. Therefore there is no precedent. However, I think that even if life and death kings can't save her, they should be able to delay the flare-up of the poison. Delay the flare-up? Is Senior Dragon King in the Dragon God Celestial Palace? The first person Yi Chen thought of was Dragon King. Without a choice, he could only consider it as owing Dragon King another favor. Zhang Jingguang smiled bitterly. I won't hide it from you. Palace Master is currently in closed-door training. Nobody knows where he went. Moreover, you should have heard that Palace Master's age has already surpassed 1,000 years, breaking the limit of human kings. This is his second closed-door training and we're all very worried. Hearing these words, Yi Chen creased his brows. Sure enough, breaking the limit of human life was not that easy. Even Dragon King was in closed-door training, so one could easily imagine how difficult it was. This should be a secret, right? Yi Chen didn't understand why Zhang Jingguang would say this. Palace Master's closed-door training is not a secret. Many people are waiting for him to fail. Of course, before he fails they won't dare to make a move. Yi Chen, actually, you don't have to go to Palace Master. In terms of saving people, Xianhou is much more skilled than Palace Master. I think if you go to Xianhou, Xianhou should agree. Yi Chen's talent was impossible for Xianhou not to notice. If Yi Chen went, he would be more useful than anyone else. Moreover, Xianhou and Dragon King had a good relationship, so it was impossible for Xianhou not to give face to Dragon King. Pausing for a bit, Zhang Jingguang continued, Xuanhou sect is in Sky Martial Region's Phoenix Cry Mountain. It's not too far from here, about 7 million li away. You can make it back in time. However, you have to be careful on the way. If there is nothing urgent, I can go with you. Every time Dragon King entered closed-door training, Dragon God Celestial Palace would be busier than usual. Zhang Jingguang had rushed over despite his busy schedule, which showed how much importance he attached to Yi Chen. Of course, it was not impossible for him to go with Yi Chen. However, Dragon King had instructed him to let Yi Chen experience more pressure. He shouldn't care about such a trivial matter. No need to trouble Palace Master Zhang. I will be more cautious by myself. Yi Chen naturally wouldn't trouble Zhang Jingguang. Taking out a map from his storage ring, Zhang Jingguang handed it over to Yi Chen and said, "This is the map of Sky Marshal Region. Phoenix Cry Mountain is on it." "Many thanks." Receiving the map, Yi Chen casually put it in his storage ring. In a spacious and comfortable courtyard of Yellow Dragon Palace's branch, Murong Jishui and his family were together. "Jishui Qingqing, cheer up. I'm not going to die right now. There's still time." Su Ruhui saw Murong Jishui and Murong Qingqing's gloomy expressions and said helplessly. Murong Jishui said, "No matter what, I'll save you even if I have to risk my life." After 30 years of affection, Murong Jishui had already considered Su Ruhui as a part of him, inseparable. Mother. Murong Qingqing's eyes were bright red. If not for her, her mother wouldn't have been poisoned. She hated Yuan clan, but at the same time she felt powerless. Pada. Pada. Footsteps sounded. Yi Chen walked in from outside. "Yi Chen." The three looked over. Yi Chen smiled. "Uncle Murong, there might be a way to cure Auntie's poison." "There is." Murong Jishui and Murong Qingqing's eyes brightened. Although they knew that there was no poison in this world that could not be cured, there was a limit to their power. Right now, Yi Chen had undoubtedly brought them a ray of hope, even if it might turn out to be a disappointment in the end. "What is it?" Murong Jishui asked hopefully. Yi Chen said, "Tomorrow morning I will leave for Sky Marshal Region's Phoenix Cry Mountain and ask Xianhou to save Auntie. I think with Xuanhou's power, there would be a great chance to cure Auntie. Even if it doesn't work, it would at least delay the outbreak of the poison, giving me time to find the ingredients to make the antidote." "Ask Xianhou to save Ruhui." Murong Jishui was shocked. Xianhou had taken good care of the Demi family, but it was not limited to the Murong family. Even the abstruse bead that she gave to his daughter Qingqing was sent over by someone else. She did not come here personally. It could be seen that she only regarded her daughter Qingqing as a genius that could be cultivated, unlike the Dragon King who valued Yi Chen. After all, how many Yi Chens were there in this world? Of course, if there was no other way, they could only ask Qingqing to look for Xianhou. Now that Yi Chen said that he was going to look for Xianhou, it undoubtedly increased the hope. Yi Chen's current achievements were already so shocking. In a few years, there would be no one who would not pay attention to him. It was very likely that he would become the future Sword King or even the Sword Emperor. That's right, the Dragon King is currently in closed-door training. Palace head Zhang asked me to look for Xianhou. Yi Chen nodded. "Then I'll leave it to you." "Alright, I'll go with you." Murong Jishui recalled that Yi Chen was also a target of public criticism and was somewhat worried. Who knew, someone might launch a sneak attack on him. Yi Chen shook his head and said, "Uncle, you stay here and accompany Auntie. I alone am enough." In fact, he was worried that he would not be able to save Su Ruhui. And if he could not save her, this would be the last time Su Ruhui and Murong Jishui could be together. "Yi Chen, be careful." Murong Qingqing was currently still at the peak of late astral reaching realm. If she went with Yi Chen, she would only be a burden. She inwardly decided that she had to enter the Sea of Soul realm as soon as possible. Otherwise, the distance between her and Yi Chen would only grow further and further, and she would not be able to protect the family. "I will." Yi Chen gave Murong Qingqing a reassuring glance. Chapter 559. On the second morning, Yi Chen departed. The journey to the Sky Marshal Region's Phoenix Cry Mountain was more than 7 million li. Even if he rode the flying puppet and flew day and night, it would still take him dozens of days. If it were in the past, dozens of days would not be a big deal for him. But now, every extra day he spent would mean more danger for Su Ruhui. High up in the sky, the rock-shaped flying puppet spread its wings and shot out. Each breath could cover 6 to 7 li, leaving a blade-like air current behind it. Sitting cross-legged on the back of the puppet, Yi Chen was not in the mood to look at the sea of clouds on both sides. He focused on training. During the battle with Yuan Lai, the latter had brought him a lot of pressure. Under this pressure, his spirit, qi and soul had all made a breakthrough, becoming as sharp as a sword and as sharp as gold. He had comprehended the essence of the gold profound, which allowed him to bring his gold resonant radiant sword art from 90% completion to completion. In terms of power, the gold resonant radiant sword art at completion was not below the void shattering finger art. If it were used with the thunder disaster sword, its power would be even greater than the void shattering finger art. It would be his number one ace attack. However, his biggest ace had been exposed and his power had become transparent. For Yi Chen it would be very dangerous. Perhaps someone had already investigated his power and sent someone to ambush him. Therefore, although the completion of the gold resonant radiant sword art was a good thing, he could not be complacent because complacency was a sign of failure. If he was lucky he might still have a chance to recover, but if he was unlucky he would fall and become a shooting star among the countless geniuses of the continent. Although it would be bright and dazzling, it would only last for a second. The void-shattering finger art cannot be improved in a short period of time. From the space mentality to the space profound, the difficulty is way beyond my imagination. I'm afraid it will not be as easy as cultivating the gold resonant radiant sword art to completion. However, if I can enter the deep void and observe the space power from a close distance, it will be a whole different story. Amaranthan nature is the advanced profound sword movement of the green lotus sword arts, and its level of subtlety is quite impressive. Once the sword is thrust out, it can accelerate through the air, making the actual sword speed faster than the naked eye can see, giving the opponent no time to react. However, the Amaranthan nature is more exquisite, but its power is still not enough. It is a bit lacking as an ace attack. In terms of sword movements, besides the gold resonant radiant sword art, only the Sky Thunder Cut and the reverse Sky Thunder Cut can be used as ace attacks. These two attacks, one positive and the other negative, stacked together, would increase their power exponentially. Under the condition of 70% completion, the two attacks would be as powerful as the 90% gold resonant radiant sword art. If it could reach 80% completion, it would probably surpass the completed gold resonant radiant sword art and become the number one ace attack. After quickly going through all the sword moves he had learned in his mind, Yi Chen made a decision. Next, he would use all his strength to break through Sky Thunder Cut and reverse Sky Thunder Cut. Of course, it didn't mean that he would give up on the other sword moves, but he would focus on these two moves. The Sky Thunder Cut is my own creation and it would be quite troublesome to learn. There is no clear path, so I would have to figure it out by myself. But these two attacks have enough potential, so it would be worth it to sacrifice some time. Let's see if I can learn something in these 10 days. Unknowingly, the flying puppet had carried Yi Chen far away from the ancient wind city. It is time to make my move. 100 miles behind the flying puppet, a black shadow suddenly increased its speed. From 10 times the speed of sound, it reached 20 times the speed of sound. The instantaneous acceleration had caused the air in the surroundings to be unable to handle the pressure and explode. A circle of perfect space patterns spread out. 80 miles. 50 miles. 10 miles. Brat, stop right there. After chasing for 10 miles, the black shadow that was wrapped in light reached out one of his hands. That hand clenched into a fist and punched out toward where Yi Chen was standing. But Yi Chen did not even look back as his body jumped into the air. The flying puppet below him turned into a beam of shadow and disappeared from where it was. The next second, the space started to shake, and a blurry fist mark was left in the surreal space, looking extremely aggressive. Turning around in the air, Yi Chen looked at the approaching black shadow and said sarcastically, "You have waited until now to make your move. It must have been hard on you. You knew?" The newcomer was wearing a black mask which had the effect of blocking out soul power. Right then he sounded a bit surprised. "You guessed it right." A silver light appeared in Yi Chen's pupils. His invisible soul power went through the black mask and saw the real face of the newcomer. Sure enough, it is a Sea of Soul Master warrior who went to the Yuan family to congratulate them. He seems to be called Tyrant Fist Master. He is a loner without any family or sect, and has only recently arrived in the Gulan region. He has a good relationship with the head elder of the Yuan family, Yuan Jin. This person specializes in fist arts which are very aggressive. That day there were 7 Sea of Soul Master warriors who went to the Yuan family. 1 from the Gulan sect, 3 from the other big sects, 1 from Yao Yifeng, 1 from Murong Jishui, and 1 from this Tyrant Fist Master. Apart from Yao Yifeng and Murong Jishui, Yi Chen also had some information on the other 5. You guessed right, but there is no reward. Tyrant Fist Master's exposed eyes released a cold killing intent. Yi Chen's strength was similar to Yuan Lai's, and his half-step extreme rank sword was only slightly higher. On the other hand, his strength was the same as Yuan Jin's. His Dugu Tyrant Fist art was even more aggressive, which specialized in breaking through protective Jin Yuan. Therefore in his eyes Yi Chen was already a dead man. Once he killed him, his wealth and half-step extreme rank sword would all be his. It doesn't matter if I don't get a reward, but you must get one. Otherwise, wouldn't you have wasted your trip? Yichen said indifferently. Courting death. Tyrant Fist Master roared as his body swooped down, throwing out a punch. It was an extremely simple punch without any fancy moves. However, in the hands of Tyrant Fist Master, it was no longer ordinary. The aggressive fist intent pierced through the clouds without any hindrance. Yichen's expression turned serious. The air around him turned viscous under the fist intent, as if the void had been frozen. Void-shattering finger. Yichen pointed out his finger. Wherever his blue finger went, the sticky air had been dispelled, as if the snow in the spring had been melted by the hot sun. The blue finger and the aggressive fist shadow clashed together, causing the space to ripple and blur. Even soul power was greatly affected. Yellow Dragon sealing great art. Throwing out a finger attack, Yichen suddenly took out a yellow light ball, which floated in front of his chest. Yichen formed a spell with both of his hands. As he did so, a dark yellow light started to move within the yellow light ball, looking like a furious dragon. Buzz. The yellow light ball shook once and a yellow dragon shadow broke out of it. It ignored the chaotic chi flow between the two and flew above Tyrant Fist Master's head. The dragon shadow's tail hung down while its head was raised up high, bearing its fangs and claws like a totem. Yellow Dragon sealing great art. Tyrant Fist Master was already within 100 meters of Yichen. Seeing the yellow dragon shadow, he looked like he had seen a ghost, his face full of fear. Seal. Yichen did not give his opponent any chance. He finished forming the spell, and the yellow dragon shadow shone with dozens of light dots. As the light dots lit up, the yellow dragon shadow suddenly shrunk down, ignoring the protective Zhenyuan layer and entering his body. The whole process could only be described as lightning fast. No. My Zhenyuan. Tyrant Fist Master did not expect that Yichen would learn the yellow dragon sealing great art in one night, and even get the Dragon Ball. If he had known that Yichen had learned the yellow dragon sealing great art, he would not have dared to attack Yichen. Even if he wanted to, he would have to keep his distance and not give his opponent a chance to lock onto him. The yellow dragon sealing great art was a secret of the Dragon God Celestial Palace, and it was also one of the reasons why the palace was able to dominate the world. Yichen, give me a chance. I will leave immediately and not trouble you anymore. My Tyrant Fist Master will never go back on his words. In his extreme panic, Tyrant Fist Master even revealed his identity. But it did not matter anymore at this point. Nothing was more important than his life. Yichen sneered, if I am captured by you, will you let me go? As long as you release the yellow dragon sealing great art, I am willing to work like a horse for you. Having a master-level Sea of Souls realm as your slave is something that many geniuses do not have. Tyrant Fist Master sounded very sincere, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. What was supposed to be in the bag had now become his slave. He could not accept it. Alright, I will release you right now. Stepping on the air, Yichen walked over step by step. No. Tyrant Fist Master could sense the killing intent coming from Yichen's body. Pushing out the Zhenyuan that was not completely sealed, he tried to escape. Yichen caught up with him, his gold sword piercing through his head. I hate this. Before he died, Tyrant Fist Master's face was full of regret. Taking away his storage ring, Yichen threw out a punch, and the dead body of the Tyrant Fist Master was instantly destroyed, leaving nothing behind. Yellow dragon sealing great art. So horrifying. Yichen stared at the dim yellow light ball in his hand, feeling a bit shocked. It was Zhang Jingguang who had taught him the yellow dragon sealing great art. Of course, it was the will of the Dragon King. As the secret art of the Dragon God Celestial Palace, it was not that hard to learn, since it did not have much of a secret. All he had to do was use his soul power and Zhenyuan to activate the sealing power in the Dragon Ball. With a bit of guidance, he would be able to complete the seal. However, learning the yellow dragon sealing great art did not mean that he would be able to seal others. Without the Dragon Ball, it would be impossible, and the Dragon Ball was given to him by the Dragon King himself. According to Zhang Jingguang, there were not more than 10 people in the palace who had Dragon Balls. The fact that he was able to get one meant that the Dragon King trusted him, since not every one of the 5 palace leaders had one. As for the power of the Dragon Ball, it was not limitless. In fact, without replenishment, one ball could only perform the yellow dragon sealing great art once. For example, Zhang Jingguang had performed the yellow dragon sealing great art on Yao Yifeng, and that ball had been destroyed temporarily. As for how to replenish it, Yichen did not know. There were a few key points to perform the yellow dragon sealing great art. First, the opponent had to be within 100 meters. Second, the soul power had to be more powerful than the opponent, since the sealing power of the Dragon Ball depended on the soul power of the user. The more powerful the user's soul power, the more powerful the sealing power would be. Third, when performing the Yellow Dragon sealing great art, it could not be interrupted. Once it was interrupted, the user would be attacked by the sealing power, which would be very serious. Therefore, it could only be used for one-on-one. Chapter 560. The flying puppet shot out of the storage ring as Yi Qin jumped onto it and sat with his legs crossed. He then pushed it to fly at a high speed, pushing its speed to its limit. This Tyrant Fist Master is a bit richer than Murong Wang. He has 400,000 top-rank spirit stones and 3 top-rank weapons. But he does not have any extreme-rank spirit stones. Inserting his soul power into the storage ring, Yi Qin smiled lightly. Adding the top-rank spirit stones he had on him, he had 800,000 in total. It was not a small amount, and if he were alone he would be one of the top warriors among master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors. There was only one region between the Gulan region and the Sky Martial region. 5 days later, Yi Qin rode his flying puppet and arrived at the Sky Martial region. 10 days later, Yi Qin saw the Phoenix Cry Mountain. The Phoenix Cry Mountain range was one of the top 3 mountain ranges in the Sky Martial region, stretching for hundreds of thousands of miles. After flying for half a day, Yi Qin finally arrived at the core area of the mountain range. Once there, Yi Qin had no choice but to come down. In his sight, there were countless mountains that were tens of thousands of meters tall, reaching into the sky like pillars. Yi Qin estimated with his eyes that the shortest one was at least 9,000 meters tall, while the tallest one even reached above the sea of clouds, almost reaching the sky. On top of each of these mountains, there were massive palaces of different sizes, hidden deep within the winding clouds, vaguely visible. In Yi Qin's eyes, each mountain was like a beehive, with black dots flying in and out like busy bees. It is indeed the famous Phoenix Cry Mountain. Even a small mountain here is way more majestic than the Sky Cloud Martial School's Windy Mountain. Yi Qin was a bit emotional. They were both martial institutions, but the difference was way too huge. Who is coming to my mysterious martial school? From the palace closest to Yi Qin, a red figure flew out. It was as fast as lightning, appearing not far away from Yi Qin within a second. This was a middle-aged man wearing a scarlet-red robe with a quaint appearance. From his speed, he was at least an expert of the true human rank. The mountain he was on was only in the middle to lower reaches of the mountain peaks, so it was obvious that he was only in the middle to upper levels. Yi Qin held his fists together and said, "I am Yi Qin from the South Rudra region. I would like to see the leader of the mysterious martial school, Xianhou." The martial school that Xianhou had created was called the Mysterious Martial School, which had more females than males. It was the place that all the female disciples wanted to go. Yi Qin from the Sky Cloud Martial School from the South Rudra region? The middle-aged man in red had heard of Yi Qin before. Of course, it was not because Yi Qin's fame had spread all the way to the Sky Martial region. In fact, in the Sky Martial region, Yi Qin did not have any fame at all. The only reason he knew about Yi Qin was because the leader had mentioned Yi Qin in a meeting a couple of years ago. Being mentioned by the leader, how could all the middle and high-level members of the mysterious martial school not pay attention to him? Indeed, it is me. I am the leader of the Fire Cloud Mountain, Zhang Dihuo. You wait in the palace and have a cup of tea. I will go inform the leader. The Fire Cloud Mountain was one of the 36 peaks of the mysterious martial school, and it was also the first line of defense. After knowing about Yi Qin's identity, Zhang Dihuo did not dare to be slow, so he suggested. Yi Qin nodded and followed him towards the Fire Cloud Palace on top of the mountain. After waiting in the palace for a while, Zhang Dihuo returned. Yi Qin, the leader wants to see you. The mysterious martial school had 48 important peaks in total. It was called the top 3 peaks, the middle 9 peaks, and the bottom 36 peaks. With Zhang Dihuo leading the way, Yi Qin did not face any obstacles along the way. Soon he arrived at the main peak of the mysterious martial school. Looking over, the entire mysterious martial school was covered in a layer of crystal-colored mist. Yi Qin knew that it was the great protective spell of the mysterious martial school. It had an amazing defense, and even a life-and-death realm warrior would not be able to break in within a short period of time. The crystal-colored mist in front of him separated, revealing a massive crystal door. Zhang Dihuo said, "I will not go in." If there was nothing important, the leader would not be allowed to enter the mysterious martial school. It was the rule of the mysterious martial school. Yi Chen held his fists at Zhang Dihuo before flashing his body and flying in. Passing through the crystal-colored mist, Yi Chen finally realized that the real mysterious martial school was a whole different world. Looking from the inside, it seemed to be much bigger than the outside, as if he had entered another world. Besides that, the spirit qi in this place was very rich and even the air was a bit moist. With a casual breath, one could feel the spirit qi entering one's body and slowly turning into Zhen Yuan. What a great place! Yi Chen praised as he looked at the beautiful female disciple who had just arrived. You are Yi Chen. This girl was the same as Yi Chen at peak level early Sea of Souls realm. She was about 23 or 24 years old. Of course, once one reached the Sea of Souls realm, one would not be able to tell their age from their appearance. For example, Yi Chen was almost 25 years old, but he looked like he was in his early 20s. Being in someone else's territory, Yi Chen knew that he had to be polite, so he smiled and said, "Indeed. How should I address you, sister disciple?" "I am the leader's third disciple, Miao Yin. Come with me." The mysterious queen's residence was not on the mysterious peak. Instead, it was in the sky above the mysterious peak. It was a floating mountain just like the floating mountain. Of course, although this floating mountain of the mysterious sect was not as big as the floating mountain, the materials used were obviously not of the same level. It looked like gold or jade and contained a horrifying power. It was not something to be underestimated. On top of the floating mountain, there was a pond and a few wooden houses that formed a small manor. Beside the pond, a lady in her 20s was feeding the fish. Her long hair was like a waterfall, reaching all the way to her feet. Her eyes were calm and peaceful. "Miao Yin, you can leave for now." "Yes, teacher." The beautiful female disciple called Miao Yin left with respect. Getting onto the floating mountain, Yi Chen saw Xianhou. Right then, Xianhou was different from the mental power image he had seen in the parallel space battlefield. The mental power image of Xianhou was so beautiful and unforgettable. Right now, Xianhou seemed a lot more reserved and natural. "Senior Xianhou, sorry to disturb you." Xianhou smiled lightly. "My real name is Xianhou Qingxian. You can just call me Senior Yen." "Senior Yen. Is there something you need my help with?" The two were separated by a small pond as Xianhou spoke while feeding the fish. Yi Chen nodded. "It is about Murong Qingqian." "What happened to her?" Xianhou lifted up her head. She had paid quite a bit of attention to Murong Qingqian since she was a good seed. "Murong is fine. However, Murong's mother, Su Ruhui, has been poisoned by the Yuan family's shadowless poison. The only antidote she had was also destroyed by Yuan Jin. Therefore, I would like to ask the mysterious queen for help." Yi Chen told Xianhou his intention. "Yuan family. Shadowless poison. Nonsense." Xianhou was a bit angry. She had tried her best to help the demi-demon family, hoping that the human race would treat them fairly. But, there were some demi-demon families that did not want to be united, and were destroying themselves instead. She had heard about the Yuan family's aggressive style, but she had never thought that they would dare to poison their own people. Not to mention, it was one of the most powerful poisons in the world. "Senior, do you have any way to save her?" Yi Chen was quite confident in Xianhou. Besides being powerful, she was also well-versed in many other things, especially in saving people's lives. "There are less than 5 different kinds of poisons in the world, and I can save more than 5 different kinds. Unfortunately, the shadowless poison is one of the poisons that I cannot cure. Even Senior Yen cannot cure her." Yi Chen's heart sank. Although there was an antidote for the shadowless poison, finding the ingredients for it was extremely hard. Some of the ingredients were things that he had never even heard of before. Xianhou said, "Don't worry. Although I cannot cure her completely, I can still extend her life for a couple of years." Hearing her, Yi Chen let out a breath. With a couple of years as a buffer, there would be a lot more hope. "The shadowless poison is not easy to deal with. You and I will go check it out first." Xianhou waved her palm in the air, and a surreal door appeared on top of the pond. Xianhou stepped into it, and Yi Chen followed without hesitation. Deep in the surreal space, the surreal door kept flashing. Each time it flashed, it would be extremely far away. After 15 minutes, the surreal door appeared in the branch of the Yellow Dragon Palace. Walking out of the door, Yi Chen was shocked. Although he knew that life and death realm warriors were powerful and unimaginable, the ancient Wind City was 7 million miles away from the Fengming Mountain. It took him dozens of days to get there, but it only took him 15 minutes to get back. This kind of power was beyond his imagination. "Senior Xianhou." Seeing Xianhou and Yi Chen suddenly appear in the room, Murong Qingqing and Murong Zhishui were shocked. Waving her hand, Xianhou looked at Su Ruhui, whose face was a bit pale. Luckily we got here early. The poison chi has already started to corrode her body. Senior, please save my wife. Murong Jishui had been very worried for the past couple of days. At first, Su Ruhui was no different from a normal person. But after 10 days the problem was getting worse and worse. No one knew where the poison came from, but it had started to corrode her body. Even her Zhenyuan could not stop it. You guys get out. Xianhou said. Uncle Murong, let's go out first. Yi Qin dragged the two out. The treatment did not take long. After 15 minutes, the door was opened. Murong Jishui and Murong Qingqing went in to check. Seeing that Su Ruhui was perfectly fine, they thought that she was completely cured, so they thanked her profusely. Xianhou had a bitter smile on her face. Don't be too happy yet. The poison is still there. I just let her live for 3 more years. After 3 years, not only would my mysterious sealing art not be able to seal the shadowless poison, it would even become its accomplice, which would speed up her death. No one would be able to save her. Therefore, within 3 years, you guys have to gather all the ingredients for the antidote. Yi Qin said, Uncle Murong, you guys do not need to worry too much. 3 years is a long time, and it is more than enough for us to find the antidote. Plus, I already have a couple of ingredients for the antidote, so the rest should be fine. Flipping his left hand, Yi Qin took out a couple of spirit plants, which he got from the herb garden on the Treasure River Island. As for the antidote for the shadowless poison, everyone in the demi-demon family knew about it. Of course, it was impossible for Xianhou not to know about it. Xianhou was not surprised that Yi Qin had these spirit plants. Every genius had their own luck, and without a doubt Yi Qin's luck would not be any worse than other geniuses. Yi Qin, from now on, you can travel around the Sky Martial region. Maybe you can find the ingredients for the antidote. Chapter 561. The Sky Martial region was the top region of the True Spirit continent. Its area was only slightly smaller than the top 4 regions, but it was way bigger than any of the other regions. The Sky Martial region was a great place, and some of the rare spirit plants and medicines could be found in the outside world. It was said that the undead tree was in the Sky Martial region, but unfortunately no one knew where it was, not even Su King or Xianhou. After all, there were still too many unknown places. Hearing Xianhou say that she wanted him to go to the Sky Martial region, Yi Qin nodded. The Sky Martial region was a sacred place for all the martial geniuses, so there was no reason for him not to go. With his power right now, he might be able to make a name for himself. The situation in the Sky Martial region is complicated. After you get there, come to the Phoenix Cry Mountain first. Xianhou could tell that Yi Qin did not want to go right now, so she waved her right hand and walked into the surreal door made of space power. She disappeared without a trace. Waiting until Xianhou left, Murong Jishui sighed. The shadowless poison is a special poison created by my demi-demon family. I cannot believe that I would have to use it on my wife one day. Yi Qin comforted him. Uncle, if you trust me, I will take care of the antidote. 3 years is long enough. I'll leave it to you then. There were a lot of materials to make the antidote, so Murong Jishui could only hope that Yi Qin would be lucky all the time. Now that it is done, let's go back to the South Rudra region. Yi Qin had already thought about going back to the Sky Martial region, so he was ready to say goodbye. Of course. Murong Jishui nodded. The leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace, Zhang Jingguang, had already left. Yi Qin and the group said goodbye to Wang Shi and Yan Kuei, then got on the red-eyed bird and started their journey back to the South Rudra region. Yi Qin had to admit that the red-eyed vicious bird was indeed a bit slow. If the distance was only a few million miles, it would still be manageable. But if it was more than that, it would take way too long. Without a choice, Yi Qin took out the 2 flying puppets. The flying puppets seemed to be only twice as fast as the red-eyed vicious bird, but it would save them twice as much time. Without it, the flying puppets did not need to rest at all. How could they not be fast after flying day and night? Around 20 days later, the group returned to the Murong clan. When I reach the Sea of Souls realm, I will go to the Sky Martial region to find you. Murong Qingqing knew that the gap between her and Yi Qin was just too huge. Only by reaching the Seas of Souls realm would she be able to close the gap. Otherwise she would only be a burden if she went. But her advantage was not that small either. Once she trained a part of the demon power essence, she would be able to reach peak level early Seas of Souls realm at least. Mid Seas of Souls realm might even be possible, since the demon power essence was the essence of the demon power inside the demon's body. Every bit of it contained a huge amount of demon power, which would benefit her greatly. There's no rush. It's best to consolidate your cultivation first. How could Yi Chen not know about Murong Qingqing's advantage? Once she reached the Sea of Souls realm, she would be at least at the Spirit Warrior level, which would be a huge advantage. But the Sky Martial region was not like any other place. It was the holy land of martial geniuses, gathering all the top martial geniuses of the whole continent. Yes. Murong Qingqing pursed her lips. Although her relationship with Yi Chen had not reached the point of intimacy, it was not far from it. They just needed to spend more time together. I will leave this flying puppet to you. I will need it in the future. Flipping his wrist, the leopard-shaped flying puppet appeared, floating in the air between the two. Yi Chen smiled as he looked at her, not hiding his emotions at all. A slight blush appeared on her face as Murong Qingqing's bright eyes contained a hint of affection. On the way back to the Windy Nation, Yi Chen took out the Dragon Ball. So, the Dragon Ball's power can be replenished automatically. I wonder when it will be fully replenished? It had been more than a month since he had performed the Yellow Dragon sealing great art for the first time. During this time, the Dragon Ball had slowly recovered its color, and was no longer dim. The Yellow Dragon sealing great art is easy to learn, but it is extremely hard to master. Although it seemed easy to deal with the Tyrant Fist Master, it is actually because my soul power is powerful enough. Zhang Jingguang's soul power was way weaker than Yi Chen's, but he was still able to make Yao Yifeng unable to fight back at all. On the other hand, Yi Chen's soul power was 4 to 5 times that of Zhang Jingguang's. When he sealed the Tyrant Fist Master, he still managed to leave a bit of Zhen Yuan behind. This was the gap between them, and it was not just a small one. The flying puppet disappeared into the horizon. The endless mountain range in front of him was getting bigger and bigger. Sitting on the flying puppet, Yi Chen could see the Fire Cloud Mountain, one of the 36 mountains under the mysterious martial school. This time, I am afraid I will be staying in the Sky Martial region for a long time. Back in the South Rudra region, Yi Chen stayed at his family for a couple of days before saying goodbye to his parents again and leaving for the Phoenix Cry Mountain in the Sky Martial region. Last time, he had come in a hurry, so Yi Chen did not have the time to observe the mountain properly. This time he realized that there was a light desolate qi mixed in the mountain range, which meant that the mountain range had a very long history, dating back to the ancient era. Chirp. A bright bird chirp was heard. Yi Chen's expression changed slightly as he felt his blood flow increase. This bird. Yi Chen looked over and could see a huge blue bird flying in the sky on the side of the Fire Cloud Mountain. The huge bird's wings were 7 to 8 meters long, and there was a crown-like feather on its head. There were also 3 distinctive tricolored feathers behind its tail, which made it look like the king of the birds. The descendant of the phoenix? Blue phoenix? Yi Chen gasped. He did not expect to see a blue phoenix in the Phoenix Cry Mountain range. It was not a normal beast. Judging on potential, it was even more powerful than Sun Xiaojin from the water ape race. It was a top-ranked beast, which was equal to the 9-headed snake. In other words, once it matured, it would be at least a top-ranked 10 beast, and it would have a huge chance of becoming a beast king. Plus, the higher the potential of the beast, the more powerful it would be. With the blue phoenix's potential, it would be able to beat any beast at the same rank, including Sun Xiaojin. It was a beast that was famous even in the ancient era. The blue phoenix flapped its wings and jumped toward Yi Chen, its feather crown burning with blue flame. Yi Chen's expression changed. This blue phoenix was at rank 9, and he did not know why it was flying toward him. You are Yi Chen? When it was dozens of meters away, the blue phoenix suddenly stopped and spoke in human language. It was a female voice. Indeed. Yi Chen was a bit confused. It was not like he had not seen beasts that could speak human language before. The water ape race was one of them, but they were similar to humans, so it was not strange for them to speak. I am the head disciple of the leader Yen Fengfeng. Nice to meet you. The blue phoenix said. So it's senior sister Yen. Yi Chen cupped his fists together. Hee, follow me. Master's waiting for you. With a wave of her tail, Yen Fengfeng turned around and flapped her wings, moving at an extreme speed. Such a fast speed. Yi Chen increased his speed to 90% before he could barely catch up with her. Seeing how relaxed she looked, he guessed that she had only used half of her speed. Yen Fengfeng wanted to test Yi Chen's speed. Her blue wings flapped slightly, and her speed increased again. It was so fast that it did not even look real. Sword light flying spell. Yi Chen bit on his teeth as a sharp sword light shot out of his body. The sword light flashed once before carrying his body and shooting out, chasing after Yen Fengfeng. Not bad. You can barely catch up with me by half. Yin Fengfeng said shockingly. What? Yi Chen was shocked. Right then, he had even performed his sword light flying spell, which was more than 20 times the speed of sound. But it was only half of her speed. Yin Fengfeng chuckled, don't be surprised. Among the young generation of the Sky Martial region, I might not be the most powerful. But, speaking of speed, if I say I am number 2, no one would dare to say they are number 1. You are only at peak level early Sea of Souls realm, but you already have master level speed. It is already very impressive. It seems like I have to perfect my sword light flying spell. Even though she had said it like that, Yi Chen could not help but feel emotional. Being twice as fast as him. What kind of concept was that? It would be like being born unbeatable. Below the life and death realm, no one would be able to catch up with Yin Fengfeng. As for the sword light flying spell, it seemed a bit outdated in his eyes. At astral reaching realm, the speed of the sword light flying spell was almost as fast as the attacking speed. But, at the Sea of Souls realm, it was still far away from the attacking speed, since he was only at the astral reaching realm when he created it. Soon Yi Chen and Yin Fengfeng arrived at the mysterious peak. You're here. Xuanho's voice was heard. At the same time, a guiding power covered him and Yin Fengfeng, bringing them directly to the floating mountain above the mysterious peak. Senior Yin. Master. Xuanho nodded and looked at Yi Chen. Although you are not my disciple, the old Dragon King and I have always treated you as one. Don't be too reserved. Thank you, Senior Yin. Fengfeng, it is Yi Chen's first time in the Sky Martial region, so he is not clear about some of the rules. You take him to the Sky Martial Pavilion and leave your name there. Yes. Yin Fengfeng nodded, the blue flame on her feather crown spinning around. Sky Martial Pavilion? Yi Chen was indeed not clear about the rules of the Sky Martial region, since the Battle King's life information was way too much. Therefore he only had a part of the Battle King's memory. Also, this time, there are a couple of disciples from our mysterious martial school who are going to the Sky Martial Pavilion to leave their names there. I will leave them all to you. Xuanho thought very highly of Yin Fengfeng. Speaking of which, Yin Fengfeng could be counted as her half-daughter. When she first came to the Phoenix Cry Mountain, she did not set up her martial school here. It was not until she found a blue phoenix egg deep under the mountain that she used a secret technique to hatch it that she had Yin Fengfeng. Master, my shape-shifting pellets are almost used up. Yin Fengfeng looked at Xuanho with puppy eyes. Xuanho chuckled as she took out a jade bottle and threw it to her. Use it sparingly. These pellets are not easy to make. Thank you, Master. Yin Fengfeng waved her tail as she opened her mouth to catch the jade bottle. Opening the bottle, a round pellet fell into her mouth and she swallowed it. Oh! A blue light that was like the sun shone brightly. When the green light dissipated, the figure of the Qing Feng was nowhere to be seen. There was only a young woman dressed in green clothes. She had a lithe figure and exquisite facial features. Between her eyebrows was a threatening noble temperament. In the center of her forehead was a feather crown pattern with a green flame burning on it. Brother Yi, nice to meet you. Yin Fengfeng, who had turned into her human form, revealed a smile. Sister Yin, nice to meet you. Yi Chen chuckled. In his human form, it was indeed the first time the two had met each other. Alright, you guys can go now. We can leave tomorrow. Xuanho said. Chapter 562. The sun rose in the east. It was already the morning of the second day. On top of a steep mountain on the west side of the mysterious mountain, 3 disciples of the mysterious martial school stood there. Right next to them was an iron feather mysterious eagle. Among the 3 disciples, 2 of them were people Yi Chen had met before. They were the head disciple Yin Fengfeng and the 3rd disciple Miao Yin. The last one was a male disciple with a face as white as jade. He looked to be only 22 or 23 years old, which was the youngest among the 3. As for his real age, it was hard to tell. Head disciple, who is this Yi Chen? Our master is paying so much attention to him, asking you to take him to the Sky Martial Pavilion personally. The male disciple with the white face was called Ling Tianhao, the 4th disciple of the mysterious martial school. His real age was already 27 years old. Of course, to be able to train to peak level early Sea of Souls realm at 27 years old was already a talent that could not be underestimated even in the Sky Martial region. If it were in the 4 regions, he would be at least one of the top warriors among the young generation. Even in the mysterious martial school, he would be one of the top martial geniuses. Yin Fengfeng laughed. Brother Ling, do not underestimate him. He is the new rising young king warrior of the southern region. His power is definitely not that big of a deal. Young king warrior of the southern region. This does not seem to be that big of a deal, right? It was not that Ling Tianhao looked down on Yi Qin, but in his eyes, the young king warriors of the southern region indeed did not have anything to be proud of, especially in the Sky Martial region. He reached the Sea of Souls realm at 24 years old. However, what Yan Fengfeng said next made Ling Tianhao's expression change drastically. Everyone knew that the leader of the mysterious martial school, who was also their master, Xianhou, had reached the Sea of Souls realm at 25 years old. This record had been the first in 1,000 years, and no one had been able to break it for decades. Even the two top martial geniuses in the Sky Martial region who were said to be as powerful as their master had only reached the Sea of Souls realm at 25 years old. They did not break their master's record. He could not imagine that there would be a martial genius in the southern region who was even more talented than their master. Impossible. Ling Tianhao's first reaction was to refuse. Yan Fengfeng sucked in a deep breath. When master told me this news, I didn't believe it either. But master's words carry enormous weight. How could he lie? Hearing Yan Fengfeng telling him that it was her master, Ling Tianhao was still in shock and disbelief. After a long while, he let out a breath slowly. Impressive training talent? Perhaps it is only the training talent. Not necessarily. Yan Fengfeng looked at a black dot flying over. His speed has already reached master level. Whoosh! The black dot quickly enlarged. It was Yi Qin, dressed in blue with a long sword at his waist. Sorry for the wait. Cupping his fists, Yi Qin landed on the top of the mountain. We have just arrived as well. Let me introduce you. This is my third sister disciple Miao Yin, and this is my fourth brother Ling Tianhao. Yan Fengfeng introduced. I already know senior sister Miao Yin, but this is my first time meeting senior brother Ling Tianhao. The three of them were all older than him, so it was not shameful for him to call them senior sisters and senior brothers. It is also my first time meeting brother Yi. Please take care of me in the future. After knowing that Yi Chen's training talent was even more powerful than his master, Ling Tianhao did not look down on him anymore. Regardless, training talent was still a kind of talent, and it was the most direct way to reach a higher level. If the training talent was not good enough, then no matter how powerful the other talents were, it would be useless. Let's go. Miao Yin looked very calm, looking more like the head disciple than Yan Fengfeng. In the sky, the iron feather eagle carried the four and flew at an extremely fast speed, reaching 10 times the speed of sound, almost 15 times the speed of sound. The iron feather eagle was a rank 9 beast, and it was known for its speed. If it flew at full speed, it could reach 18 times the speed of sound, which was close to master-level warriors. But of course, traveling for a long time and traveling for a short time were obviously different. One could not just focus on speed, which would only waste time. After all, the iron feather eagle was not a flying puppet. It was made of flesh and blood after all. Judging from the efficiency of traveling for a long time, the iron feather eagle was just like Yi Chen's flying puppet. One was fast, while the other did not need to rest. The Sky Martial Pavilion is located in the south of the Sky Martial region, and is called the South Sky Gate. According to the rumors, the Sky Martial Pavilion has some kind of connection with the Treasure Holy Tower as well. People above 40 would not be able to enter, and people who have not reached the Sea of Souls realm would not be able to enter either. In the middle of the Sky Martial Pavilion, there is a magical name wall. You can leave 1,000 names on it, and each name can stay there for 10 years. On the back of the iron feather eagle, Yan Fengfeng was explaining the information about the Sky Martial Pavilion to Yi Chen. Do I have to go there to leave my name? Yi Chen asked. Yan Fengfeng chuckled. Have you heard of this saying before? If you do not enter the South Sky Gate, it means that you have never been to the Sky Martial region. The reason why the Sky Martial region is called the sacred place for all the martial geniuses is because of the Sky Martial Pavilion. Hearing her, Yi Chen smiled weirdly. So, only the young warriors who have reached the Sea of Souls realm would be considered to have been to the Sky Martial region, and those who have not reached the Sea of Souls realm would be wasting their time. That Xie Zhiqiu was able to make a name for himself in the Sky Martial region, so he was probably in the young generation. Yi Chen's guess was not wrong. Xie Zhiqiu had indeed only made a name for himself in the young generation of the Sky Martial region. But when it was expanded to the entire young generation, it would not be worth mentioning at all. It must be really hard to leave one's name on the wall, right? Of course it is. Although the name wall is not really a ranking, it is still very useful as a reference. It includes all the top warriors within the last 10 years. Many of the famous martial geniuses from different regions would not even be able to make it into the top 1,000. Pausing for a second, Yan Fengfeng glanced at Miao Yin and Ling Tianhao and said, "Therefore most of the martial geniuses would like to stabilize their power first. Only when they are unable to make it anymore would they go to the Sky Martial Pavilion to leave their names there, so that it would not be too awkward for them to go there for the first time." Yi Chen thought about it and agreed with her. Reaching the Sea of Souls realm would be the weakest time for warriors of this level, so reaching the peak level of early Sea of Souls realm would be the most important thing. Once one reached the Sea of Souls realm, one's comprehensive ability would increase drastically, so it would be very important to increase one's mastery of profound sense martial arts as well. Right then Ling Tianhao opened his mouth and said, "The name wall is a place to judge one's potential. Being able to make it into the top 1,000 is already very hard, and it would be even harder to make it into the top 100. Once you make it in, the whole Sky Martial region would know your name. As for the top 10, those would be the top martial geniuses. With Brother Ye's potential, it should not be a problem for you to make it into the top 100. Actually, Ling Tianhao still had some doubts about Yi Chen's potential. Being talented in training was indeed very important, but the other aspects were just as important. In the history of the True Spirit continent, there had been some martial geniuses who were talented in training but normal in other aspects. Yi Chen chuckled but did not say anything. There was still a long way to go before they reached the Sky Martial Pavilion. On the way the four of them kept chatting. Yi Chen learned from Ling Tianhao that there were 2 disciples from the mysterious martial school who had made it into the top 1,000 on the wall. They were the head disciple Yan Fengfeng and the second disciple Fu Yinhong. Yan Fengfeng's rank was ridiculously high, she was ranked 5th, while Fu Yinhong was a lot lower, ranked 57. Of course it was a lot lower than Yan Fengfeng's, but in the whole True Spirit continent, it was undoubtedly a very high rank. After all, if one's name could stay on the wall for 10 years, then the names of the martial geniuses from 9 years ago would all be shown on it. The Iron Feather Eagle was indeed a rank 9 beast that was known for its speed. After 7 days, the 4 of them had managed to travel from the west side of the Sky Martial region to the south side of the Sky Martial region. On the afternoon of the 7th day, a mountain peak that reached into the sky gradually appeared in front of the 4 of them. It was a mountain peak that looked like a sharp sword. The peak seemed to have been shaved off by a sword, making it very flat. On top of the peak stood a magnificent building. On the door there were 3 huge words written in a domineering style, Sky Martial Pavilion. "We are here." There are quite a lot of people there and a couple of familiar faces. Yan Fengfeng's eyesight was extremely powerful. Even from dozens of miles away she could still see the people there clearly. She could even tell the faces of the people there. Seeing the Sky Martial Pavilion, Ling Tianhao's breathing was a bit heavier than usual. Obviously he was not feeling calm at all. Miao Yin, who had been calm all the way, could not help it either. A bit of fighting spirit shone out from deep in her eyes. Only Yan Fengfeng and Yi Chen did not have much change in their expressions. The former had been to the Sky Martial Pavilion once before, and this time she had brought 3 people to leave their names there, which had nothing to do with her. The latter was attracted by the aura of the Sky Martial Pavilion. In Yi Chen's eyes, the mountain peak and the Sky Martial Pavilion were like a godly sword that could pierce through the sky. That aura was like a sword chi piercing through the sky, which was extremely horrifying. The Iron Feather Eagle dove into the clouds, approaching the Sky Martial Pavilion quickly. Iron Feather Eagle. They are from the mysterious martial school. It should be Yan Fengfeng from the Phoenix Martial School who had brought her brother and sister disciples to leave their names there. At the foot of the mountain, someone had recognized the Iron Feather Eagle and Yan Fengfeng. They did not fly directly to the pavilion, but instead, Yan Fengfeng ordered the eagle to land on a flat ground at the foot of the mountain. "Yan Fengfeng, how have you been?" A bald teenager with a powerful aura walked over with his brother and sister disciples. Yan Fengfeng laughed. "Hi Wuya, did you bring your brother and sister disciples here to leave their names?" "Indeed." The bald teenager named Hai Wuya glanced at Yi Chen and the other 2. "Your mysterious martial school already had 2 people who left their names on the wall. I did not expect that there would be 3 more this time." "Hehe, brother and sister disciples have worked hard." Yan Fengfeng maintained the smile on her face the whole time. "Then I will go first. There are so many people here." Hai Wuya led the group and left. "This is Hai Wuya?" Ling Tianhao stared at Hai Wuya's back. Yan Fengfeng said, "Yeah, he is extremely powerful, no weaker than me. He is ranked 10th on the wall." "Alright, maybe you guys do not know much about the wall yet. It is a magical wall. Later on, you guys will only need to pour your soul power into it, and it will form an independent mental consciousness body in the mental world inside the wall. It will have 30% of your power, and your opponent will be a virtual mental consciousness body with the same power. Once you beat a virtual one, you will be able to enter the next level, where the virtual mental consciousness body experience will be doubled and so on and so forth. Remember, do not try to show off. If the mental consciousness body is wounded, it will make you think that you are wounded subconsciously, which will affect your real body. The more wounded the mental consciousness body is, the more the real body will be affected. There have been cases of real bodies falling in the past. Chapter 563. Mental Consciousness Body? Yi Chen's eyebrows twitched. Most of the information that the Battle King had sent into his head was related to training, so Yi Chen knew what it was. To be more specific, the mental consciousness body was something that came out of a mother body with a soul. It did not have a consciousness and it was similar to a mental projection. However, in terms of complexity, it was much more powerful, and the power it could carry would be way more powerful as well. Of course, the Battle King had not trained a mental consciousness body yet. Therefore, Yi Chen did not know much about it, but he had a general idea. Let's go up. Yin Feng led the way up the mountain. The path leading to the top of the Sky Marshal Pavilion was a 10,000 meters long and 100 meters wide staircase. After every 1,000 steps, there would be a spacious staircase. The second he stepped on the staircase, he finally realized why no one had flown up directly. The whole mountain was covered with a layer of invisible seal, and there was no way to use the air as a stepping stone. All he could do was walk up step by step. After a whole 15 minutes, the four finally got to the top from the foot of the mountain. So many people. Stepping through the gates of the Sky Marshal Pavilion, the four of them were greeted by a spacious and magnificent plaza. In the middle of the plaza, there was a 100-foot-tall screen wall. Surrounding the screen wall were hundreds of young men and women who were younger than 40 years old. The pavilion only opens once a year, so it is normal for there to be a lot of people. Yin Feng had already gotten used to it. The wall was very tall, and the four could see all the names on it at first glance. Duguju number 1. Dantai Mingyue number 2. Yin Feng number 5. Indeed, Yin Feng was ranked number 5. Being able to be ranked number 5 out of 1,000 names, her potential was already shocking enough. Yin Feng explained, ranked number 1 and 2 are the top 2 martial geniuses of the Sky Marshal region. They might not be the most powerful among the young generation, but they are definitely the most talented. Look at the color of the names. White means within the 3rd level, blue means to the 4th and 5th level, and red means to the 6th and 7th level. If one could make it through all 7 levels, then the color would be purple. So far, only Duguju and Dantai Mingyue had made it through the 7th level, and their names would be purple. Hearing him, Yi Chen took a closer look at the wall. On the wall, there were 2 purple names, around 50 red names, and most of the blue ones. There were more than 800 blue ones, and the white ones had decreased drastically, only around 100, which was at the bottom of the list. If you want to leave your name on the wall, you would have to at least make it to the 3rd level. The longer you can last in the 3rd level, the higher the success rate would be. As she said that, Yin Feng sighed. She was the descendant of the Phoenix, and her potential was unparalleled. Normally, it would not be hard for her to be ranked number 1 or 2. But, the 4 people in front of her were just too freaky, especially Duguju and Dantai Mingyue, who had made it through all 7 levels directly. Head disciple, is it that hard? Ling Qianhao asked. Yin Feng let out a breath and said, the 1st level is a virtual consciousness body with similar power as you. The 2nd level is 2, the 3rd level is 4, and the 4th level is 8. With each level, the number will double and the difficulty will also double. Do you think it is hard? Then the 7th level would have 64? Ling Qianhao gasped, and even Miao Yin and Yi Chen looked serious. Yin Feng said with a low voice, the wall tests battling techniques, mental power and potential after being pushed to the extreme. Although cultivation and power have some effect, it would be suppressed to a very small extent. After all, the virtual consciousness body inside has the same power as you. If you are more powerful, it would be more powerful as well. I wonder what rank I would be able to get. Before coming here, Ling Qianhao was full of confidence. But now he was only left with pressure and battle intent. Yi Chen understood what Yin Feng meant. The wall tested one's potential, and it had nothing to do with cultivation or power. But of course, just like what Yin Feng had said, although the latter two had been suppressed a lot, they still had some effect. For example, if one's power was higher, they would be able to sense more things, and their battling styles would be more unpredictable, which would increase their potential. Yichen, you are here as well. Right then someone yelled out Yichen's name. Yichen turned around and saw the Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan and the Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun. The two had both reached the Sea of Souls realm just like him at peak level early Sea of Souls realm. A smile appeared on his face as Yichen said, "What a coincidence." Li Xiaoyun said, "It is not a coincidence at all." Yichen chuckled. Li Xiaoyun was right, it was not a coincidence at all. The two reaching the Sea of Souls realm did not surprise him too much, since they had reached the peak level late astral reaching realm before him. They could make the breakthrough at any time. Plus, the Sky Martial Pavilion only opened once a year, so it would not be a coincidence at all to run into them here. Where's Chu Zhongtian? The relationship between Yi Chen and Chu Zhongtian was just normal. In the beginning there was still some conflict between them, but it had gotten better after a while. Now, it was just a competition between two people at the same level. Jing Aoshuan shook her head. He has the evil spirit body, so it would be extremely hard for him to make the breakthrough. Right now he is still at the peak level late astral reaching realm. That is true. Yi Chen nodded. The evil spirit body trained the evil Yuan, which was a couple of times more powerful than the Zhen Yuan. It would be extremely hard for him to make the breakthrough. But of course once he made the breakthrough, his power would increase drastically as well. At the astral reaching realm he would be extremely powerful, and once he reached the Sea of Souls realm he would only be even more powerful. In other words, Chu Zhongtian was born with good luck, and he would only get more and more powerful. Perhaps once he reached the Sea of Souls realm, Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun would not be able to compete with him anymore, unless they had some kind of great luck. This wall of fame is also a battlefield, a soundless battlefield. Li Xiaoyun suddenly sighed as he stared at the name on the wall in a daze. Yichen was not familiar with these people's names, but Li Xiaoyun was very familiar with them. He saw the names of the top warriors of the young generation in the southern regions. Some of them were the hosts of the previous tea gatherings, but their rankings were very low, below 500. Only one of them could make it into the top 100. The wall could test 10 people at a time and there was no time limit. Of course, although it was said to be unlimited, it was actually very limited. If one spent too much time in the beginning, their spirit, chi, and soul would not be able to keep up, which would shorten the time. This time I finally made it into the top 1000. An ordinary-looking teenager saw his name at the end of the wall after finishing his test, and his face was full of excitement. Everyone's attention was drawn over. Yi Chen frowned. He saw two familiar people. They were the East Demon Xie Zhiqiu and One-Blade Ling Luohan, who had caused a huge commotion in the tea gathering. These two had also entered the Sea of Souls realm. Leaving an empty spot, One-Blade Ling Luohan walked up and began his test. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Ling Luohan opened his eyes. At the same time, the last 100 names on the wall moved back one by one, and Ling Luohan's name appeared at the 99th place. I have to say that Ling Luohan's potential is very high. Jing Aoshuan had lost to Ling Luohan before. Although Li Xiaoyun did not lose to Ling Luohan, he had to admit that he was not Ling Luohan's opponent in the tea gathering. As for now, he did not have the confidence to win for sure, but he did not think that he would lose for sure either. He has gone down the wrong path of the blade art. Wanting to correct it in a short period of time would be very hard. In Yi Chen's eyes, Ling Luohan's potential would not be that much weaker than Xie Zhiqiu's, and could even be on the same level. Unfortunately, in order to pursue the efficiency of his blade art, he had gone down the wrong path of killing with one blade attack. It was indeed an evil path that could increase his power quickly, but it would also leave behind a lot of problems, which would slow down his progress in the future. The East Demon Xie Zhiqiu has started his test. A skinny teenager said, "The East Demon Xie Zhiqiu is quite famous among the young generation of the Sky Martial region. After reaching the Sea of Souls realm, he already has the power to compete with most of the top young warriors. I wonder what his rank would be? It should be very high." Duguju and Dantai Mingyue had reached the Sea of Souls realm last year. They were the top of the young generation back then. Although their power would not be able to reach the top of the young generation, their potential would be unbeatable. Potential and power were two different things. A high potential did not mean that one's current power was high, and a high power did not mean that one's potential was high. The former would still need some time to increase their power, while the latter would have enough time. But the potential was obviously not there, and the former would eventually catch up. Kill. In that quiet world, Xie had passed 3 levels in a row and made it to the 4th level. There were 8 mental consciousness bodies in the 4th level, and each of them had the same power as him. The good thing was that the 8 of them did not have perfect teamwork. In fact, if they did, then there would be no way for him to fight. Even Duguju and Dantai Mingyue would not be able to make it. In the 5th level, Xie was wounded a little, and his real body outside of the wall let out a groan. In the 6th level, Xie was killed within a second. So powerful. The real body opened its eyes, and Xie could feel that he had just suffered an internal injury that he had subconsciously caused. Looking up at the ranking on the wall, a smile appeared on Xie face. Xie number 22. In the past, although he had some fame in the Sky Martial region, it was only among the younger generation. He had not risen to the top of the younger generation. Although his current strength could not compete with the other famous youths, in terms of aptitude he was ranked 22nd in the past 10 years. This was a very high ranking and he was very satisfied with it. Wow. He is actually ranked 22. Scary. Among all the people who participated this year, Xie potential could be ranked at least in the top 3. Some of the people around gasped. The higher the ranking, the more difficult it would be. At the same time, it also meant that he would be more powerful in battling above his realm. The East Demon Xie was indeed worthy of the title. Interesting. Hai Wuya and Yen Fengfeng nodded secretly. Although Xie potential was not as good as theirs, it was only a reference. His future achievements might not be worse than theirs. Hee. Xie turned his head to look at Yi Chen and the rest. When his eyes met Yi Chen's, a cold light shone out of his eyes as if he wanted to battle. Chapter 564. On the martial tea gathering, Xie had brought the top 3 young warriors from the eastern regions with him. He thought that he would be able to beat all of the top young warriors from the southern regions without having to do anything himself. He had guessed the beginning but could not predict the end. In the beginning, the top 3 young warriors from the eastern regions were indeed unstoppable. First they had beaten Li Shaoyun, then Jing Aoshuan. When it came to Chu Zhongtian, although the situation was not as good as he thought, his defense was way too powerful, and there was nothing that could be done about it. Judging from the surface, even if Chu Zhongtian did not lose, he would still be at an absolute disadvantage. In the end it was Yi Chen's turn. As soon as Yi Chen showed up, he had easily beaten Shadowless Whip Chuanghao and One Blade Ling Luohan. Even someone as powerful as Xie had lost to him without being able to fight back. The 4 had come with great power, but they had been forced back, leaving behind the legend of Yi Chen's invincibility. Xie knew that without reaching the Sea of Souls realm, he would not be able to train his Demon Chi power spell to a higher level. Therefore it would be hard for him to beat Yi Chen. Therefore, after returning to the eastern regions, he had been training hard, trying his best. Finally, he had reached the Sea of Souls realm half a year ago. In the following half a year he had trained his Demon Chi power spell to the 5th level, which allowed him to increase his battling power by 5 times. Compared to the astral reaching realm, his power was like heaven and earth. After reaching the Sea of Souls realm, Xie confidence had increased drastically. He had been thinking about beating Yi Chen and restoring his glory. But the Sky Martial Pavilion only opened once a year. If he missed this chance he would have to wait for another year. Therefore he planned to go to the pavilion to test his potential first before finding Yi Chen for revenge. What he did not expect was that Yi Chen had also come to the Sky Martial Pavilion. There was no need for him to find him at all. This time I will beat you like a dead dog. Thinking about how he had lost, Xie tightened his fists, his face not looking very friendly. This guy is unrepentant and still wants to cause trouble for Yi Chen. Li Shaoyun and Jing Aoshuan sneered. They did not know how powerful Yi Chen was right now, but they knew that he was already so powerful at the astral reaching realm. Wouldn't he be even more powerful after reaching the Sea of Souls realm? The test was fast. Ling Tianhao and Miao Yin also went up to take the test. After a while, the names of the 2 people appeared on the wall. They were respectively 285th and 276th. This was a pretty good ranking. There were so many geniuses on the continent, and it was not easy to be ranked within the top 300 in terms of aptitude. Yi Chen, let's go take the test too. There were fewer and fewer people. Li Shaoyun walked into the testing circle first, followed by Jing Aoshuan. Yi Chen nodded and walked into one of the 10 testing circles. Yen Fengfeng, he does not seem to be from the mysterious school, right? Hai Wuya told Yen Fengfeng. Yen Fengfeng said, "He is a martial genius from the South Rudra region." South Rudra region? Hai Wuya frowned. A small martial genius from the South Rudra region was being led by Yen Fengfeng herself? What a great honor. Yen Fengfeng laughed. Hai Wuya, do not underestimate him. In the battle between the martial geniuses in the Sky Martial region, he will definitely be one of the main characters. Hai Wuya chuckled but did not say anything. He thought that Yen Fengfeng was just trying to trick him. The Sky Martial region was not some region or some region. It was the center of the whole continent. All of the top martial geniuses were gathered there, and it would not be easy to make a name for oneself, not to mention being one of the main characters. Yen Fengfeng did not try to explain because she knew that it would be useless. If she wanted to convince people, she would have to show some results. Anything else would just be empty talk. It was a dead silent world without any signs of life. On the barren land, a blurry human figure was forming, and it was getting clearer and clearer. Facial features and clothes could be seen clearly. It was indeed Yi Chen in blue robes. Right then he looked cold and numb as if he did not have any consciousness at all. All of a sudden Yi Chen's numb eyes flickered, and there was a light in them. Mental consciousness bodies do not have consciousness, and must be controlled by the main body. Yi Chen had an understanding. Mental consciousness bodies also had different levels. Obviously, this was the lowest level mental consciousness body. The higher level mental consciousness bodies could grow from not having consciousness to having consciousness, which was equivalent to a real clone, and did not need to be controlled by the main body. 100 meters in front of Yi Chen, a human figure appeared. It was a sword artist in yellow robes. His cultivation and will were the same as Yi Chen's, but his face was blurry. Chem? He has a sword but I don't. With that thought in mind, a sword appeared in Yi Chen's hand. One more. A sword appeared on Yi Chen's waist as well. The sword artist in yellow robes charged over, throwing out a killing attack right from the start. It was a completely different attack from Yi Chen's. The sword light was sharp like a circular arc, sweeping across the sky. With a shake of his body, Yi Chen turned into a sword light, brushing past his opponent's sword light. The long sword in his hand was taken out of its scabbard, and with a flash, it was instantly extinguished. Puff. A head with an indistinguishable face flew up, and the sword artist in yellow robes slid on the ground, gradually dissipating into nothingness. One sword strike, a head flew off. The first level is not difficult. Although the virtual mental consciousness body's cultivation and will are the same as mine, its combat techniques are too standard. There is nothing special about it, and it is like a preset program. Yi Chen silently evaluated the virtual mental consciousness body's combat strength. About 3 breaths later, 2 more sword artists in yellow robes appeared. These two's faces were blurry, but their sharp gazes were like beams of light, locking onto Yi Chen. After locking onto him, it was time for a fierce attack, an attack that would not stop until one of them died. Kill? Yi Chen did not retreat or evade but rushed toward the two. The 3 of them passed each other. The next moment, 2 heads flew into the sky but there was no blood. The pressure is getting greater and greater. In a separate mental world, Li Xiaoyun rushed into the crowd, surrounded by a total of 16 people. These 16 people's cultivation and will were similar to his, and the power of their killing moves was not weaker than his. Even if their combat techniques were too simple, and there was no spiritual qi, they had 16 times more people than him. 16 people besieging him, the pressure was unimaginable. Bang! The iron fan closed and Li Xiaoyun smashed the heads of 3 people in a row. However, he was punched in the back and his body staggered out, passing through the gap between the 2 people in front of him. 7-star crossing. Suddenly turning around, Li Xiaoyun performed his trump card. Royal Extreme Tyrannical Fist. Royal Extreme World Shocking Fist. Jing Aoshuan did not blindly attack like before, and if she did not advance she would retreat. Her body moved like lightning, wreaking havoc. With every punch, 1 person would be sent flying, and the strong power of thunder and lightning was like a chain of lightning in the starry sky, one after another. With a groan, Jing Aoshuan had suffered a serious internal injury. She was besieged by 16 people whose cultivation and will were not weaker than hers after all. Defeating them was not something impossible, but she would have to pay a heavy price as well. After the time of tea? Who is Li Xiaoyun? He is ranked 108. And Jing Aoshuan 95. The names on the wall flickered and 2 more blue names appeared. They were indeed Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan. Not bad. That Jing Aoshuan is actually ranked above you. Xie Zhiqiu smiled lightly and said to Ling Luohan beside him. Ling Luohan said, their talents are indeed not weaker than mine. Although Ling Luohan was ranked above Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan, his talent was not necessarily above the two. After all, the relationship between talent and power was not completely proportional. It was much more complicated and hard to understand. It could only be said that there was a huge relationship. The real bodies opened their eyes. Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan smiled bitterly. They had both failed in the 5th challenge. I killed 13. How many did you kill? Li Xiaoyun asked. Jing Aoshuan said, 15. That's too bad. There were 16 people in the 5th challenge. After killing 15 there was only one left. Yi Qin has not come out yet. Li Xiaoyun looked at Yi Qin who was in the other testing circle. Inside the mental world of the wall, the sword light crisscrossed like a spider web, covering hundreds of meters of space. Some of these sword lights were from the illusory mental images and some were from Yi Qin. The sharp sword intent seemed to want to pierce through the mental world, shooting straight up into the sky. This was a world of cold sword chi. Kill. Yi Qin had pushed his battle skills to a new level. Sometimes he would have one sword in his hand and sometimes he would have 2 swords. In the blink of an eye, no one knew how many swords he had thrown out. They only knew that as his body flashed, the illusory mental images would fall down one after another. The remaining illusory mental images were surprisingly more than 20 of them, densely packed together. This was the 6th challenge. Yi Qin had rushed to the 6th challenge in one breath. His opponents were 32 illusory mental images. Facing 32 illusory mental images, although it was not easy for Yi Qin, he was not injured at all. Being able to stay uninjured in the early stage of the 6th challenge meant that he was at least in the top 15. It should be known that Xie Zhiqiu had only beaten back one person in the 6th challenge before being killed instantly without any chance to fight back. Yi Qin twisted his body in the air, dodging a wave of sword light. He suddenly stepped back, dodging another wave of sword light. His body turned into a shadow, moving close to the ground. Dodging another wave of sword light, Yi Qin had integrated dodging skills into his battle skills. While dodging he was also attacking. While attacking he was also dodging. It was hard to tell whether he was dodging or attacking. He only knew that it was impossible to lock his body. Swoosh. 3 heads flew in a straight line. Yi Qin stopped his body and turned around. All the illusory mental images had disappeared. The 7th challenge, I wonder how difficult it is. In the outside world. What? The test is not over yet? Could it be that he has reached the 6th challenge? Many people began to pay attention to Yi Qin. They could clearly see that Yi Qin had taken the test together with Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan. According to the normal passing speed, he should have reached the 6th challenge by now. Of course, they did not expect that Yi Qin's passing speed was even faster than they had expected. He had already reached the 7th challenge. Amazing. As long as he could hold on for a while in the 6th challenge, he would be able to enter the top 15. If he could pass the 6th challenge, he would have a chance to enter the top 10. You should know that the higher you go, the more difficult it is, and the fewer people there are. It is impossible to pass the 6th challenge. On the wall of names, only 9 people have passed the 6th challenge and entered the 7th challenge. The 6th challenge was light red in color and the 7th challenge was dark red. On the wall of names, besides Duguju and Dantai Mingyue, only 9 people had dark red names. One could imagine how difficult it was to reach the 7th challenge. Chapter 565. Interesting. Wuxia chuckled, starting to pay more attention to Yi Qin. A genius who could reach the 6th level definitely couldn't be ignored. Indeed, there was a big gap between the 6th and 7th level, and he and Yan Fengfeng were both geniuses who had reached the 7th level. However, a genius who had reached the 6th level might not be much inferior to them in the future. After all, if the difference in talent wasn't too big, it was still possible to catch up. Talent was only a general reference and couldn't be taken too seriously. How is it? Yan Fengfeng glanced at Wuxia and said. Wuxia said, his talent is indeed very high, not too far from us. He might even catch up. But if he wants to become one of the main characters of the battle, he's still a bit lacking. You should know how abnormal those guys are. You and I can barely contend against them. Don't jump to conclusions yet. Let's keep watching. Yan Fengfeng also wanted to see how far Yi Qin could go, and whether he could reach the 7th level. The 7th level began. Yi Qin's sharp eyes stared ahead. bus, bus, bus. The sound of spatial fluctuations rang out incessantly. As the sounds rang out, numerous figures appeared. They were so densely packed together that it was extremely terrifying. In the blink of an eye, 64 yellow-robed sword artists appeared 100 meters in front of Yi Qin. Although the yellow-robed sword artists were lifeless, the sword chi coiling around their bodies was extremely powerful. The sword chi of 64 yellow-robed sword artists converged together, causing numerous fine sword scars to appear on the barren land, and a formless shockwave spread out. Chop. If it were an ordinary person, they would definitely dodge at top speed and look for an opportunity to break them down one by one. Even if the chance wasn't big, it would still be better than facing 64 sword artists all at once. If 64 sword artists with cultivation base and willpower that were not inferior to one's own launched a round of attacks, no one would be able to block it, and they would certainly be annihilated. However, Yi Qin did the opposite. He withdrew his protective Zhen Yuan and used his sword light flying art. His speed soared to the limit as he crazily charged toward the crowd of sword artists. Swish, swish, swish. The dozens of sword artists at the very front raised their hands, and their long swords sprinkled out crescent-shaped sharp sword chi. They interweaved together and shot toward Yi Qin like a huge net. Pop. On the way, Yi Qin suddenly accelerated. This was his true maximum speed. Dozens of beams of sword chi sliced behind him, bringing up waves of space ripples. At the same time, he himself passed through the gaps of the sword chi, his long sword out of its scabbard in a second. His unbreakable gold resonant radiant sword art had been unleashed right from the start, creating a golden sword light in the middle of the crowd. 3 heads flew up. Yi Qin suddenly restrained his breath and turned into a black shadow. He slid along the ground and shuttled through the crowd. At the moment when he moved close to the ground, at least 7 or 8 black shadows crossed each other. That sharp sword light directly left black marks in the air. If Yi Qin's speed was a little bit slower, or his reaction was a little bit slower, or if he hesitated even a little bit more, or if he continued to kill, he would definitely be dismembered by those 7 or 8 sword lights. What seemed like a flash of lightning actually contained too many things. At this moment, every second counted, and there was no room for mistakes. Wah! The remaining 61 yellow-robed sword artists spread out, exposing Yi Qin in the middle. Yi Qin sneered and stuck to the back of a yellow-robed sword artist like a shadow. Oh. That sword artist fell down, but he did not die in the hands of Yi Qin. Instead, he died in the hands of other yellow-robed sword artists. The intense shockwave blew away Yi Qin, but it also blew him to the back of another yellow-robed sword artist. One after another, the yellow-robed sword artists fell down. If they had their own consciousness, they would definitely have died a miserable death. Void-shattering finger. The yellow-robed sword artists all spread out, and Yi Qin, who could no longer find anything to hide, pointed his finger at the 2 yellow-robed sword artists closest to him. That huge blue finger ignored the distance between them and pressed them down on the ground, rubbing the ground as it rushed forward, knocking away 3 or 4 yellow-robed sword artists who were about to launch a new round of attacks. Boom! The shockwave spread out wantonly, accompanied by sharp sword chi flying everywhere. The whole area was constantly being cut by sword chi. Still not out? He must have reached the 7th level. As time passed, the contestants finished their tests one after another. More and more gazes fell on Yi Qin, and he immediately became the focal point. The 7th level has 64 mental consciousness bodies with the same cultivation base and will. Apart from Duguju and Dantai Mingyue, there are only 9 people who can reach this level. From today onwards, it will be 10. Where did he come from? With such a high aptitude, it's impossible not to have heard of him before. He was brought by Yen Fengfeng. Phoenix sect Yen Fengfeng. No wonder. Everyone discussed among themselves, glancing at Yi Qin, then at Yen Fengfeng. Yen Fengfeng's reputation in the Sky Martial region was extremely great. In terms of identity, she was the head disciple of one of the 9 great sections. In terms of strength, she was already a Sea of Soul master, known as the Phoenix Master. In terms of speed, she was the number 1 in Sea of Soul realm. Yen Fengfeng's reputation in the Sky Martial region was not inferior to those famous young tycoons. How could the people she brought be weak? Hai Weiya's expression changed for the first time. He really didn't expect Yi Qin to be able to reach the 7th level. It seemed like he was still fighting in the 7th level without any signs of failure. Am I starting to believe what you're saying? Sucking in a deep breath, Hai Weiya retracted his gaze from Yi Qin and smiled bitterly, then said slowly, even if he is not one of the main characters of the battle, he will still be an important supporting character. There would only be a few main characters. The important supporting characters couldn't be ignored either. Sometimes their role might not be any less than that of the main character. A scene was born between the main character and the important supporting characters. He actually made it to the 7th level. Xiajiqiu clenched his fists, not daring to believe his own eyes. He thought that he and Yi Chen were only a few millimeters apart, and that he could surpass him at any time. But reality had slapped him in the face, leaving him speechless. Ling Luohan didn't say anything. Yi Chen's astonishing performance was within his expectations. He didn't like Xiajiqiu, but he admired Yi Chen. On the other side, Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan sighed inwardly. In the southern regions, perhaps only Chu Zhongtian with his evil spirit body could be compared to Yi Chen. Of course, the premise was that Chu Zhongtian could catch up quickly and not be left too far behind. Otherwise, no matter how powerful his evil spirit body was, it would still be useless. Time passed bit by bit, and only the last batch of contestants remained. The 7th level is indeed dangerous. Every step is filled with killing intent. Yi Chen had never pushed himself to this point. Facing the encirclement of so many yellow-robed sword artists, his spirit, chi, and soul were maintained at their peak, not daring to relax in the slightest. He was clear that even the slightest bit of carelessness would result in his death. Sword light crisscrossed, interweaving into a web. Yi Chen was like a flying insect shuttling in the web, struggling with all his might, seeking a chance to survive. Meanwhile, those yellow-robed sword artists were like spiders in the web, forming groups of 3 to 5, constantly spitting silk at Yi Chen. At this moment, the 7th level had taken more time than the previous 6 levels combined, and there were still more than half of the yellow-robed sword artists left. Dual sword style. Crossing the 2 swords, Yi Chen sent a yellow-robed sword artist flying. However, he couldn't kill him because there were several yellow-robed sword artists pincer attacking him. Without any hesitation, Yi Chen flew back into the air. His Zhen Yuan reversed and his body became like a mountain. Under the pull of gravity, he descended at an extreme speed. Boom, 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 boom. Like fireworks, dozens of sword chi clashed together in the sky. This is really pushing me to the limit. Yi Chen's spirit was stretched taut. He had already displayed extraordinary strength, but the danger was getting more and more intense. If killing people in the 6th level was easy, then killing people in the 7th level would require 2 or even 3 or 4 times the effort. Here, killing or being killed was only a matter of a thought. Stepping on the shoulder of a yellow-robed sword artist, Yi Chen's body twisted, bringing the yellow-robed sword artist's body along as he spun like a tornado. Then, with a hook of his left leg, the latter's body involuntarily flew out and was sliced into 4 pieces by 3 sword chi. The time taken was too much, but it caused a huge uproar outside. How long is this going to last? Could it be that he's preparing to pass? Last year, Duguju and Dantai Mingyue spent half a day. It's easy to imagine how frightening the 7th level's difficulty is. It's already been half a day. While everyone was dumbfounded, Hai Wuya and Yin Fengfeng's expressions turned serious as well. They were the ones who had passed through the 7th level, so they knew very well what kind of situation it was. Although the number of mental consciousness bodies had doubled after each level, it was still within the acceptable range after all. However, at the 7th level, the number of people had suddenly increased from 32 to 64. This kind of difficulty was no longer just doubling. It was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Every additional person would be a kind of torture, and the addition of 32 people would be simply hopeless. Yin Fengfeng was ranked 5th, but she had only killed 6 people. Hai Wuya, on the other hand, had killed 4. Apart from Duguju and Dantai Mingyue, they didn't think anyone could kill more than 10 people in the 7th level. But now Yi Chen's appearance might break this rule. I didn't think he could make it this far either. Yin Fengfeng let out a deep breath. When her master told her that Yi Chen would have a shocking achievement, she was skeptical. After all, in the Sky Martial region she had seen way too many martial geniuses, and Yi Chen was not one of them. Hai Wuya said, "The appearance of Duguju and Dantai Mingyue is already shocking enough, comparable to your master Shenho. If another one appears, this era will definitely rise to another level and become a rare era." Deep down in his heart, he did not think that Yi Chen would be able to make it through, because he did not believe that there would be 3 martial geniuses in this world at the same time. Although these 3 martial geniuses had not grown up yet, and could not compete with the top young warriors with their great potential, they would only need time to build up their achievements. Chapter 566. 45th. Slaughter, endless slaughter. Yi Chen had never experienced such a ferocious battle. This battle had pushed him to his limits again and again. His nerves were stretched like steel wires, ready to snap at any moment. He knew that he couldn't afford to have the thought of taking a breather. From the beginning of the battle until now, he had been holding his breath. If he let it out, it would truly be over. He would be utterly defeated in an instant. At this moment he greatly admired Duguju and Dantai Mingyue. Since these two could pass the 7th level, their aptitudes were certainly frightening. Fighting across realms was as easy as eating and drinking. Extremely simple. 46th. Swinging his sword with his left hand to block the slash of a yellow-robed sword artist, Yi Chen raised his right hand. Sword light spilled out, and the opponent's head was sent flying. Rip. At the same time Yi Chen shifted his position, dodging the sword light coming from behind. Although the sword light didn't hit Yi Chen, its aura left a clear mark on Yi Chen's shoulder. 47th. Dodging most of the incoming sword lights, Yi Chen spun in the air. His hands holding the two swords were like two wind wheels, intertwining sword lights shooting out. Wherever they went, the ground was riddled with holes and the air was filled with sword marks. It was a scene of devastation. The yellow-robed sword artist closest to Yi Chen was devoured by the intertwining sword lights, sliced into dozens of pieces and dissipated into nothingness. I've consumed too much power. After using this move, Yi Chen's complexion turned slightly pale, and blue veins popped out on his forehead. The power of consciousness avatars was not limitless. From the first level until now, he had killed 110 consciousness avatars. These avatars had the same cultivation base and will as him. Killing one was not easy, especially in the 7th level. Killing one was equivalent to killing 2 or 3 avatars in the 6th level. The difficulty had doubled and the consumption was enormous. Even with his Sea of Soul Realm cultivation base, he couldn't bear such consumption. Fortunately, the yellow-robed swordsman had also expended a lot of energy, and his condition had deteriorated. Otherwise, if this had continued, Yi Chen would not have been able to hold on. Retreating swiftly, Yi Chen took a deep breath and pointed a finger at the dense sword light that was coming at him. Bang! The gigantic cyan finger grew stronger and stronger, forcibly blasting away the threat. 48th, 49th. Borrowing strength from the void, Yi Chen advanced instead of retreating. With extreme speed, his body trembled, turning into dozens of shadows that engulfed the two yellow-robed swordsmen. With a flash of sword light, the two swordsmen fell to the ground. Around the Wall of Fame, gasps could be heard. It's been 8 hours since he started the test. Even if he doesn't pass the 7th stage, he will definitely be ranked 3rd or 4th. Everyone's expression changed. Among them, the majority had stopped at the 5th stage and only a few had made it to the 6th stage. If the 5th stage was already this hard, then the difficulty of the 7th stage would be beyond their imagination. Otherwise, how could only Duguju and Dantai Mingyue pass the 7th stage and look down on all the other geniuses? This guy. Yen Fengfeng smiled bitterly. As a descendant of the Phoenix, she was not inferior to anyone in terms of talent. But she was only ranked 5th, being suppressed by the top 4. And now she couldn't even maintain her 5th position, and was about to fall to the 6th. It was simply incomprehensible. In fact, Yen Fengfeng had still underestimated her own talent. This wall of names was used to test humans, and as a blue phoenix, it was inevitable that it would be biased. After all, humans and beasts were different in many aspects, and could not be treated as the same. Therefore, Yen Fengfeng's potential was similar to that of humans, and her potential as a beast was not completely tested, or perhaps only a part of it had been tested. Blue Phoenix could be mentioned in the same breath as the ancient nine-headed snake. Even if her talent was not as good as Duguju and Dantai Mingyue, it would not be too far off. Yen Fengfeng, we can't let go of this kind of genius. Although our team is not weak, it will still be hard to compete with those top young warriors teams. With him joining us, our team will definitely be a lot more powerful. Plus he is still growing. Hai Weia smiled at Yen Fengfeng. Yen Fengfeng said, of course. There were countless geniuses gathered in the Sky Martial region. Walking in any random city, one could run into some geniuses. Geniuses were all very prideful, so it would be hard for them to not see eye to eye with each other. After a long time, small conflicts would gradually turn into hatred, and they would view each other as enemies. And there was strength in numbers. Even if you wanted to fight fairly with others, others might not necessarily fight fairly with you. If you didn't want to lose out, then you would have to have your own team and faction. In that case, regardless of whether it was fair or not, others would not be able to bully you. There were strong and weak factions, and Yen Fengfeng and Hai Wei's faction could be ranked in the top 10. Unfortunately, besides the two of them, there were no other powerful figures. Yi Chen was undoubtedly the best candidate in their eyes. With him joining, they would be able to compete with those top young warriors factions in a couple of years. Plus, Duguju and Dantai Mingyue were not to be trifled with either. The two's potential was horrifying. 59. I don't believe that he can maintain his advantage forever. It has nothing to do with others. Yuan Jie knew that it was impossible for Lin Ku to fight 1 against 2. His target was Yi Chen. Hearing these words, the blade on Lin Ku's back stopped pulsing. He followed Yuan Jie's gaze and looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen, get the hell out here. The sword light became longer and longer, and the sword energy contained within it was extraordinarily terrifying. The sword fiercely hacked at Yuan Jie's sword mace. Clang. Blazing sparks blossomed like flowers. Yuan Jie let out a muffled groan as his feet left the ground and he was sent flying several li away like an arrow. Damn it. Yuan Jie stopped his body as his aura rose rapidly. If you want to get it back, I'll beat you until you don't dare to. Yi Chen's sword aura was like a rainbow as he slashed out again. Boom. Yuan Jie was sent flying several li away again. Peng 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 peng. Yi Chen was extremely horrifying when he went berserk. Inside the mental world of the Wall of Names, he had killed all the illusory consciousness. Although his power did not increase significantly, his fighting style had become much more ferocious, and his fighting techniques had become much simpler as well. Gasp. Everyone was chasing after the two. Seeing Yuan Jie being completely suppressed by Yi Chen without any power to fight back, they could not help but take in a cold breath. Yi Chen was indeed powerful, but no matter how powerful he was, he could not be more powerful than Lin Ku, Yen Fengfeng, and the others. What shocked them was Yi Chen's ferocious style. Yuan Jie was only at a slight disadvantage before being forced back repeatedly, unable to fight back at all. With this retreat he was hundreds of li away. The only thing Yuan Jie could do was to defend with all his might. If he did not defend, then he would lose. A mountain was cut off, and Yuan Jie's arms started to bleed. Yi Chen, don't push it too far. With a roar, Yuan Jie took on Yi Chen's sword chi head-on. His back bent as black scales appeared. The moment the scales appeared, Yuan Jie's upper body doubled in size. His back bulged like an iron plate, and his clothes were torn apart instantly. Gold resonant radiance. Yi Chen's speed soared as he waved out a golden sawtooth sword light. The sawtooth sword light tore through the sky, carrying a high-frequency vibration power as it slashed toward Yuan Jie at lightning speed. A huge sound was heard, but this time, Yuan Jie only backed out 100 meters. It's my turn now. Grinning cruelly, Yuan Jie ignored the bleeding between his thumb and forefinger as he teleported while holding the thick mace, smashing it toward Yi Chen. Behind him, a black chi flow rolled out, covering half of the sky. Along with his attack, it seemed as if the entire space was moving. Clang, clang, clang. The two fought from the sky to the ground, and from the ground to the water. Wherever they went, dust and smoke filled the air, rocks shot into the sky and mountains fell one after another. Die for me. Yuan Jie had 2 maces in total. He had only used one before, but at the critical moment he reached behind his back with his left hand and pulled out the second thick one, sweeping it out unexpectedly. Reverse sky thunder cut. Yi Chen did not even look at it. He held the emerald long sword in his left hand and slashed out, clashing with the opponent's mace. Both of them are using 2 weapons. Yuan Jie is not simple. He actually managed to turn the situation around. The demi-demon family's demonic transformation ability should not be underestimated. Yuan Jie's battle power has increased by at least 10 to 20%. But the chances of him suppressing the opponent are very small. The surrounding crowd was in a heated discussion. Bang. The two separated once again. Yi Chen, to be able to force me to this degree, you should be proud. Next, I will make you kneel and beg for mercy. Yuan Jie stood on a tall mountain. The black chi flow behind him was ceaselessly rolling, seemingly brewing something. The two maces in his hands were suffused with a black light. Floating in the air, Yi Qin tightened his grip on the sword hilt and coldly said, "Bring it on. I will crush your extravagant hopes. You have a sharp tongue. Let's see how long you can be arrogant." Kacha. The mountain sank several meters and cracks spread everywhere. Yuan Jie spread out his hands and a black ball of light condensed at the tip of the two maces. The ball was only the size of a thumb, and it spun crazily, emitting a frightening whining sound. Amidst the whining sound, black lightning scuttled out. "This move will make your blood splash 5 steps away. Demonic light wave." Swoosh. Yuan Jie shattered the mountain, and with a flicker he appeared dozens of meters in front of Yi Qin. He raised both of his arms high and the two thick maces smashed down fiercely. On the way down, the tips of the maces collided together, and with a rumbling sound the sky suddenly darkened. The two black light balls at the tip of the maces fused together, turning into a black energy light wave that blasted toward Yi Qin. This energy light wave was like an angry black dragon, carrying black lightning with it. It was unstoppable and as fast as lightning. Yuan Jie's face carried a sinister smile. The Yuan family was the main family of the demi-demon family, so they had mastered a lot of demon race martial arts that had been passed down from the ancient era. The Demon Gold Flash and Demon Light Wave were two of them. The Demon Gold Flash had an extreme attacking power, and although the Demon Light Wave was not as powerful in this aspect, that black lightning was extremely destructive. Only a trace of it would be enough to destroy a mountain. Under the demonic light wave, Yuan Jie did not believe that Yi Qin could block it. "Break for me." Yi Qin neither retreated nor dodged. Crossing his two swords, he faced the black energy light wave head-on. At the place where the two swords crossed, there was shockingly a dark blue thunder lightning ball. This thunder lightning ball was the combination of Sky Thunder Cut and Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. It was a destructive thunder lightning ball, which was somewhat similar to Yuan Jie's demonic light wave. The moment the black energy light wave and the dark blue thunder lightning ball collided, the surrounding space immediately warped and the earth quaked. After a loud boom, the surrounding mountains within a radius of several dozen li were razed to the ground. Countless rocks and shattered plants were swept up into the sky by the frightening rotating chi energy. With a crackling sound, the rocks and plants were chopped into pieces by the dark blue and black lightning. Rumble. Only at this moment did the black energy light wave and the dark blue thunder lightning ball erupt with their greatest might. A 10 meters thick and several thousand meters long lightning light beam struck down, striking the center of the two and swallowing them. Swoosh. Yuan Jie rushed out of the lightning light beam with a huge amount of blood dripping down from the corner of his mouth. He roared, "Impossible. You actually blocked out the demonic light wave." He knew the power of the demonic light wave better than anyone else. It was a move that could destroy an entire city. With the dragon-like thunder power coiling around his body, Yi Qin raised his head, his face slightly pale. Nothing is impossible. Although he said that, Yi Qin could not help but sigh at Yuan Jie's battling power. Murong Jishui had said that Yuan Yi was stronger than Yuan Jie, but judging from the current situation, Yuan Jie was not just one level stronger than him. The others had their limbs demonized or half of their chest demonized, but Yuan Jie had his upper body demonized. Moreover, the demonic light wave performed by Yuan Jie was much more powerful than Yuan Ye's demonic gold flash. Lose? Putting the emerald longsword back into its scabbard, Yi Qin reached out his left index finger and pointed at Yuan Jie. Boom. The huge blue finger ignored the distance of dozens of meters and landed on Yuan Jie's protective Zhenyuan, blowing him away. Blood splashed everywhere in the sky. "You dare to hurt my people? Piss off." Anger brewed in Lin Ku's eyes as he suddenly pulled out the battle blade on his back and threw out a blade attack at Yi Qin. A gray blade light with a desolate power extended out endlessly. "Lin Ku, how shameless can you be?" Hai Wuya threw out a palm attack from a distance. This palm attack seemed to have brought an endless ocean with it. Wave after wave of palm energy surged out, attacking the gray blade light. Boom. The blade light was deflected, slashing on the ground near Yi Qin. The ground immediately split open and a water column soared into the sky. It turned out that Lin Ku's blade had directly pierced through the ground, cleaving out the water. Seeing this scene, the spectators were all indescribably shocked. He laughed coldly, Humph, don't force yourself. Under the might of my palm, it's impossible for you to remain unscathed. The victor is still unknown. I really want to see who will be the first to give up. Lin Ku stared at Hai Wuya. Bring it on, I'm not afraid of you. As Hai Wuya's voice faded, the water yuan qi in the air suddenly froze, turning into ice shards that scattered in all directions. In the next instant, the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped by 10 times. A gust of cold wind blew past, causing the broken stones on the ground to crack and explode. Frozen land and river. A cold voice rang out. In the distance, a vast expanse of whiteness spread out rapidly. That momentum was like the arrival of an ice age, freezing everything. Crack, crack. Hai Wuya did not have time to react and was frozen by the ice yuan qi. The water yuan qi around him also became an accomplice, joining in the freezing process. Within a blink of an eye, a massive ice statue was formed, and in the center of it was Hai Wuya. Besides Hai Wuya, the rest of the bystanders were not having a good time. They were all trying their best to defend against the invasion of the ice-cold power. Their protective Jin Yuan was covered in a thick layer of frost. Yi Qin held his gold sword in his hand, slicing apart the incoming ice-cold power again and again. The sword light clashed with the ice that was formed by the ice-cold power, exploding into the sky. The ice shards shone with a colorful light under the sunlight. Down below, the mountains and rivers had all started to freeze and everything was dead silent. Duanlinya, do you really think that you are unbeatable? Right next to Ling Tianhao and Miao Yin, a burning blue flame exploded out. It was indeed Yen Fengfeng who had attacked out of anger. She pushed out both of her hands in front of her, and that rich fire power spread out in a fan shape, attacking toward the source of the ice power, that handsome young man with green hair and green leather armor. Ice and fire were not compatible. Ice and fire 9 layers. Right then, it was the battle between the fire power and the ice power. The conflict was even more intense than the battle between Hai Wuya and Lin Ku, since the two Jin Yuan and Profound did not reject each other at all. So, it was hard to say who would be the winner. Boom. The burning heat and the ice power clashed together, causing a white mist to spread out everywhere. One could not even see their own fingers. But it was only temporary. As the blasting waves spread out, the white mist was blown into the sky, opening up the view in front of them. Swoosh. Yen Fengfeng stood on top of the mountain with the blue flame burning around her. The mountain under her feet started to defrost quickly, and with her as the center, the fire power spread out slowly. Countless ice pieces turned into water, flowing down to the bottom of the mountain with a crisp sound. Crack. The ice sculpture that sealed Hai Wuya suddenly exploded, and Hai Wuya was freed. Duanlinya, you are so despicable. Hai Wuya's face was even paler now. He had been wounded quite badly after battling with Lin Ku. Most importantly, Duanlinya's ice profound naturally countered his water profound. Judging on battling power, he was actually not that much weaker than Duanlinya. But, under the situation of being countered, he knew that he would not be able to fight against Duanlinya. Plus, it was a sneak attack which he could not react in time. Stepping on the ice flowers, Duanlinya walked over with his green hair. Hai Wuya, you were distracted. What does that have to do with me? If it were not for Yen Fengfeng, I would have made you lose all your face just now. Hai Wuya stared at Duanlinya angrily. A beam of blue flame flashed past, and Yen Fengfeng appeared right next to Hai Wuya, standing right next to him. She was afraid that Duanlinya and Lin Ku would attack Hai Wuya together. Duanlinya's pupils shrank. Yen Fengfeng's speed was the thing that scared him the most. In fact, no one below the life and death realm would not be scared of her speed. Yen Fengfeng, don't worry. I will give you face. But I will not give face to the others. Whoever hurt you and Jia, stand out now. Duanlinya yelled. Yi Qin frowned. Lin Ku and Duanlinya were both extremely aggressive. No wonder they were able to hang out with people from the Yuan family. It is me. Yi Qin took a step forward. Good. You have guts. Duanlinya grinned, looking unfriendly. Duanlinya, what are you trying to do? Yen Fengfeng's eyebrows frowned. There seemed to be a blue flame burning in her pretty eyes. I'm not trying to do anything. I just want to give my brother an explanation. Duanlinya took his brother disciple to the Sky Martial Pavilion to test his potential. The test did not take long, but after he got off the mountain, he realized that Lin Ku and Yuan Jie had disappeared. Then he sensed that there was an energy vibration 100 miles away. Following the source of the vibration, he rushed over. Not to mention that Yuan Jie was in the wrong. Even if we were in the wrong, it would not be up to you to tell us what to do. Yin Fengfeng sneered. Oh, so you are trying to protect this brat on purpose. Duan Lingya squinted his eyes. What if I am? What? That would mean that you are not giving me face. Since you are not giving me face, then why should I give you face? Duan Lingya was not 100% sure that he could beat Yin Fengfeng. But the situation was quite good for them. That frozen land river attack of his had already wounded Hai Wuya even more. As long as Hai Wuya fell down, he and Lin Ku would be able to take down Yin Fengfeng easily. It was also the reason why he suddenly attacked Hai Wuya. Brother Duan, you stall Yin Fengfeng. I will take care of Hai Wuya. Lin Ku had already decided to attack, since this kind of opportunity was hard to come by. Alright, let's make it quick. Duan Lingya's eyes were cold. The ice power outside his body kept on roaring, seeming like it could explode at any second. Brother Hai, let me help you. Yi Chen would not just sit and watch Duan Lingya and Lin Ku get the upper hand. If he had no other choice, he would take out his semi-extreme rank great sword, the Thunder Disaster Sword. With the sword, even if he could not win against Lin Ku, he and Hai Wuya together would still stand a chance. Het sister disciple, let's go as well. Ling Qianhao and Miao Yin rushed up as well. Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan exchanged a look before flying behind Yin Fengfeng and the rest as well. They did not have any grudges against Lin Ku and Duan Lingya, but the two just annoyed them a lot. Plus, Yi Chen was from the southern region, so they would have to help their own people. On the other side, Duan Lingya's two disciples stood out with an unfriendly expression. There were 7 people on one side and 4 on the other. It seemed like Yi Chen's side had the upper hand, but Hai Wuya was wounded after all, while Lin Ku's battling power was not affected that much. The two sides were hundreds of meters away from each other, facing each other quietly. Everyone watching held their breaths as they stared at the 11 people on the two sides without blinking. They knew that the battle between the two parties was about to explode, and it would be very intense. Cracking a smile, Duan Lingya lifted up his hand and said slowly, "Move." Before he could finish the word move, a handsome young man appeared out of nowhere on top of a mountain in the distance. He was wearing white robes that were embroidered with plums, orchids, bamboos, and chrysanthemums. He stood there quietly as a wave of powerful aura spread out. Under this powerful aura, everyone felt very small, as if they were facing the whole world, and the handsome young man was the center of it all. Stop it. This is the territory of the Sky Martial Pavilion, not a place for you to fight. The handsome young man said lightly. By Wuxia. It is by Wuxia. One of the top 5 young warriors by Wuxia. When did he get here? How come I did not know anything? Everyone watching was shocked. Yi Chen frowned. He did not spread out his soul power at all times, so the handsome young man's appearance was very unexpected. Everyone here was at the Sea of Souls realm. Even if they did not have their soul power, their senses would still be very sharp. The fact that the handsome young man could appear out of nowhere meant that his power was indeed horrifying. Chapter 570. By Wuxia. Duan Lingya frowned as his raised hand slowly dropped down. If one were to say that he was scared of Yin Fengfeng, then he would be even more scared of the top 5 young warriors. The top 5 young warriors were the kings of the young generation in the Sky Martial region, and each of them had the power of a top master-level warrior. Although Du Gujue and Dan Tai Mingyue were very powerful, they were still young after all, and did not have enough time to accumulate. Compared to the top 5 young warriors, there was still a huge gap between them. The top 5 young warriors were all unpredictable. Even the famous master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors would not dare to underestimate them. 2 years ago, one of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Shen Qianling, had lost to one of the top 5 young warriors, Xiao Chuha. Because of this, a lot of the powerful master-level warriors would choose to avoid the top 5 young warriors when they encountered them, since they were afraid that their reputation would be ruined. So, unless it was absolutely necessary, they would not face the top 5 young warriors head-on. As one of the top 5 young warriors, Bai Wuxia's power was earth-shattering. It was said that he was the only warrior below the life and death realm to walk out of the blood-crying ghost place alive in the past 20 years, which was a king-level forbidden place. Without king-level power, one would not be able to make it back. Bai Wuxia, we are already hundreds of miles away from the Sky Martial Pavilion. Please give us some face. Lin Ku did not want to give up such a great opportunity. Bai Wuxia said lightly, your brother Lin Tian would not dare to ask me to give him face, but you as his brother have walked ahead. Hearing him, Lin Ku's face darkened. He was the second successor of the Lin family, one of the top 4 families, while his brother Lin Tian was the first successor. The two had the same father but different mothers, but they were both very talented. But Lin Ku had only become famous in the recent years, while his brother Lin Tian was way more powerful and famous than him. He was one of the young warriors who had the highest chance of making it to the top 5 young warriors. Lin Ku, let's go. Duan Lenya started to think about backing out. Bargaining with Bai Wuxia would be too unwise, since the weak would not have the right to bargain with the powerful ones. Compared to the top 5 young warriors, they would be the weak ones, which was an unchangeable fact. The 4 brought Yuan Jie, who was badly injured, and flew into the distance. Soon they disappeared into the horizon. Bai Wuxia, we did not ask for your help. Yan Fengfeng did not have a good attitude towards Bai Wuxia. Others might be afraid of the top 5 young warriors, but she was not. With her super speed, even the top 5 young warriors would not be able to do anything to her, provided that they did not get too close to her. A rare smile appeared on Bai Wuxia's face. What's wrong? Do you think I am helping you? Actually, your strength is comparable to theirs. I just don't like them. You Bai Wuxia do not hide your preferences at all. Yan Fengfeng chuckled. Obviously, Bai Wuxia's answer had satisfied her. Which one of you is Yi Qin? Bai Wuxia's gaze swept around before finally landing on Yi Qin. Yi Qin didn't know why she mentioned him, so he said, I am. Bai Wuxia nodded. He did not mean anything else. He was just surprised to see a purple name appear on the wall. Duguju Dantai Mingyue Yi Qin. It seems like our top 5 young warriors' positions are starting to be shaken. With a bright laugh, Bai Wuxia's body flashed, turning into a light white shadow and flying out. He was silent and fast like a ghost. Yan Fengfeng turned her head and said to Yi Qin, among the top 5 young warriors, Bai Wuxia is the most easygoing person, and he has killed the least people. Yi Qin nodded. I can feel that the killing intent on him is very faint. There are countless geniuses in the world. The only one that I admire is Bai Wuxia. He is untainted by dust and does not lose his sharpness. What is rare is that his talent is not very high. He is only ranked 28th on the Wall of Fame. However, his achievements are not inferior to the other 4 giants, Hai Wuya said as he spat out a mouthful of cold white qi. His complexion became slightly rosier. Yan Fengfeng shook her head. That was 5 years ago. If it were now, Bai Wuxia would definitely be able to make it into the top 10. Potential is not something that stays the same. In the end, it still depends on the individual. Being powerful is not really powerful. Having a strong heart is what makes a powerful warrior. Hundreds of miles away, Duan Lenya and Lin Ku were flying. Yuan Jie, what is that brat's name? Duan Lenya asked suddenly. Yuan Jie was badly wounded, so he said weakly, Yi Qin. Yi Qin. Duan Lenya's expression changed. What? Lin Ku asked. Duan Lenya said word by word, his potential is ranked 3rd on the wall. 3rd? Indeed impressive. No wonder he could compete with me in terms of aura. Lin Ku was shocked. Duan Lenya said with a low voice, it is not just 3rd. In fact, he is just as famous as Duguju and Dantai Mingyue. He has passed all 7 challenges and his name is Purple. What? Yuan Jie and Lin Ku's expressions changed. Who were Duguju and Dantai Mingyue? They were the same kind of martial geniuses as Xianhou. In the past 1,000 years, there had only been 3 of them. In other words, with enough time, as long as they could continue to grow, they would be able to surpass the top 5 young warriors and become famous in the whole Sea of Souls realm. It was a massive altar wrapped in twisted lightning, dragging a long lightning flow behind it. When the altar reached a height of 10,000 meters, the power disappeared and it started to fall down. The intense pressure made the lightning in the air even more violent, bringing up endless explosions. Clang. The altar landed on the ground. It was a 400 meters wide and 100 meters tall 6-pillared altar. In the center of the altar stood a black-robed man. If Yi Qin were here, he would definitely recognize the identity of the black-robed man, because he was the Yin demon ancestor who had been trapped in the underground world. Yin demon ancestor was full of anger. He had been trapped in the underground world for 3 years. If not for the undying altar, he might have been trapped there for the rest of his life. During these 3 years he had been hating Yi Qin every second. If not for him, he would have been able to obtain the secret art of the undying body 3 years ago, and would have been able to use the undying altar to escape and return to his world. The white light interweaved into the defensive layer of the altar and Een Demon Ancestor walked out. Damn it. Een Demon Ancestor's palm struck the ground, causing the earth to shake. At this moment, seeing the light of day again, Een Demon Ancestor felt a bit unreal. However, this feeling was soon replaced by a figure. Right then there was only Yi Qin in his mind. He swore that he would make Yi Qin suffer a fate worse than death, and that he would not have suffered these 3 years in vain. In these 3 years, even if this kid's progress is shocking, he would not have reached the Sea of Souls realm. A mere astral-reaching expert is not worthy of my attention. Once I capture him, I will let him taste the feeling of suffering a fate worse than death. No, I will first make him hand over the undying body's secret art. With it, my suffering during these 3 years would be worth it. Een Demon Ancestor's eyes flickered, revealing a sneer from time to time. He seemed to have already seen Yi Qin kneeling on the ground with a frightened expression. Wait for me. I, Een Demon Ancestor, have come for my revenge. Offending me is the biggest misfortune of your life. With a shoo, Een Demon Ancestor turned into a black shadow and shot out. On the way, he made a grabbing motion with both of his hands, shattering 2 astral-reaching experts who were passing by. He really needed to vent his anger and frustration. These 3 years had almost driven him crazy. After all, 3 years was a very short time. Staying in one place for 3 years without knowing when he would be able to get out, and not having the chance to go out in this lifetime would make anyone feel bad. Plus, he was not a normal person but a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior who had the chance to reach the life and death realm. Chapter 571. Accepting Yin Fengfeng's invitation, Yi Qin, Li Xiaoyun, and Jing Aoxuan stayed at the mysterious martial school as guests for a day. During their stay, the 4 chatted happily, exchanging their own experiences in the martial arts. They were all rare martial geniuses, and sometimes one inspiration or one natural change could help them make a breakthrough. While exchanging information, they all felt that they had been enlightened in certain areas, which would save them a lot of time in the future. One day later, Yi Qin and the other 2 left the mysterious martial school. Now, I will have to go on my own. On top of a nameless mountain, Yi Qin stood alone, looking at the endless mountains and rivers. As for Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoxuan, they had their own things to do, so they had already separated from him. Collecting the materials for the antidote for the shadowless poison is not something that can be done in a day. I should go somewhere with more people first and ask around. Yi Qin turned into a beam of light, flying toward the nearest city. The East Royal City was one of the top 10 cities in the world. The biggest power in the city was the Gu family. Although the Gu family was not one of the top 4 families, they used to be the number 1 family in the world. It was because this family used to have a titled emperor warrior, the East Royal King. Right now, the Gu family was like a sun in the west, but a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Among the rank 5 families, the Gu family still had quite a bit of prestige. The East Royal City was huge. It was even bigger than the Thunder City, which was also one of the top 10 cities. It would take a few days for a normal person to walk from the East Gate to the West Gate. Although the warriors who had reached the condensing reality realm could fly, no one dared to fly in the sky above the East Royal City. There was a rule in the East Royal City, which was that flying was forbidden. Anyone who dared to fly in the sky would be disrespectful to the Gu family of the East Royal City. The lightest punishment would be imprisonment for a few days, and the most severe punishment would be beheading in public. In the west of the East Royal City, there was an inconspicuous pavilion. It was 7 stories high and had an ancient look. There was a plaque hanging on the door with the words, "Knowledge Pavilion," written in silver. The pavilion was a place for information, and each floor had its own price. The first floor was for normal information, the second floor had a certain value, and the third floor and above was not a place that normal people could go. Any piece of information up there could cost a normal clasping Yuan realm warrior's entire fortune. The Knowledge Pavilion had a powerful background. Even the Gu family of the East Royal City didn't want to mess with them. If they needed any information, they had to go through the normal channels. The beauty lifted up her head and said lightly, "Do not make too much noise in the pavilion. You all get out." "Miss Nightingale, we are from the Gu family." This group of people were used to being rude and unreasonable, so they reminded the beauty. "Get out." The beauty waved her hand. She did not use her Zhen Yuan, but the restrictive power that was everywhere in the pavilion had been directed by her. It blew the group of people out, leaving only Yi Qin. "What kind of information do you want?" As if she had done something insignificant, the cold beauty asked. Yi Chen said, "It is about the shadowless plant and the rootless flower." Actually, there were a lot of ingredients for the antidote, and he was not only lacking the shadowless plant and rootless flower. But Yi Chen was afraid that if he mentioned too many ingredients, it would cause unnecessary trouble. Plus, he had to take it one step at a time. So, saying 2 ingredients would be enough. Shadowless plant and rootless flower? A strange expression flashed past the beauty's face. Do you know the rules of the pavilion? Yes, the information on the 4th floor starts at 100,000 low-rank spirit stones, the 5th floor starts at 5,000 top-rank spirit stones, and the 6th floor starts at 30,000 top-rank spirit stones. The shadowless plant and the rootless flower were both rare plants, so it would be impossible to get information below the 4th floor. Nodding, the beauty said, "Since you know about it, I believe you have the money to pay for it. You can go to the 6th floor to ask for what you want." "Thank you." Holding his fists together, Yi Chen walked toward the stairs. On the street outside of the pavilion, a group of Sea of Souls realm warriors from the Gu family looked extremely pale as they stared at the beauty angrily. "What are you talking about? Isn't she just a manager from the pavilion? If we were not inside, I would be able to beat her with only one hand." The pavilion was covered by an invisible inhibition power. As one of the deacons of the pavilion, the cold beauty could control the inhibition power to attack anyone who entered the pavilion. That was also why no one dared to challenge the pavilion. The inhibition power was too horrifying. The existence of the pavilion has affected the reputation of our Gu family. If it were not for the fact that it had such a powerful background, we would have taken it out already. The footsteps stopped as Yi Chen arrived at the 6th floor. "What kind of information are you looking for?" Right in front of the stairs was a counter. The middle-aged man behind the counter said lightly. Yi Chen said, "Plants?" "In the 3rd room." The middle-aged man pointed at the 3rd room. Arriving at the door, Yi Chen pushed the door open and walked in. There was only one table and 2 chairs inside. It was not that big, but because of the lack of furniture, it did not seem crowded at all. Only one of them sprinkled a bit of colorless powder at Yi Chen, sticking it onto the corner of Yi Chen's clothes. Meanwhile, in the Thunder City millions of miles away, there was another pavilion. A man in black robes walked in. Chapter 572. 5.5 million miles was a long distance, and it took Yi Chen 10 days to arrive at the underground crack from the East Royal City with his flying puppet. Fortunately, those 10 days were not wasted either, as his Sky Thunder Cut and Amarantha nature had made breakthroughs one after another. The former had reached 80%, and the latter was catching up as well, reaching 80% as well. Originally, when the Sky Thunder Cut was at 70%, its power combined with the reverse Sky Thunder Cut would be equivalent to the 90% Gold Resonant Radiant Sword Art. Now that it had reached 80%, its power had almost doubled. It had even surpassed the completed Gold Resonant Radiant Sword Art, becoming Yi Chen's #1 ace attack. Amarantha nature did not seem to be as powerful as the Gold Resonant Radiant Sword Art, but in terms of attacking skills, it was not something that the latter could compare with either. Its effect could not be ignored at all. With the improvement of the 2 top sword attacks, Yi Chen's overall power had reached a whole new level. Unfortunately, ever since his void-shattering finger art had reached 50%, it had been stuck there for a long time. Yi Chen knew that there was a huge gap between the space mentality and the space profound, which would not be that easy to cross. But once he did, it would bring about a huge change in his power. Putting away his flying puppet, Yi Chen released his soul power. Everything within 500 miles was within his detection range. "Ichem? Nothing?" Yi Chen frowned. Within his soul power's detection range, there was no sign of the underground crack. Could it be fake news? No, the information from the pavilion is a gold brand. Without solid proof they would not sell it. There must be something blocking my soul power detection. Soul eye open. Opening his eyebrows, a silver vertical eye appeared on Yi Chen's forehead. It was half squinted, revealing only a slit. A silver light shot out of it, traveling through the surreal space and reaching thousands of miles away. Everything within those miles was like a phantom, appearing in Yi Chen's mind one after another. Closing the vertical eye, Yi Chen's face was slightly pale. It's too hard to control the soul eye. With my current power, I can only use a small part of its power. Plus, I can't control it as I please. I wanted to see everything within 500 miles, but I could only see a few thousand miles away. I wasted a lot of my soul power. My soul I can see far and near. I can see billions of miles away, even the stars. When I'm close, I can see everything around me. The Eye of the Soul was Yi Chen's special ability. As Yi Chen reached the Sea of Souls realm, Yi Chen had slowly mastered a bit of the usage of the Eye of the Soul, which was even more powerful than the soul power. Things that could not be detected by the soul power would be exposed under the observation of the Eye of the Soul. Just now, he had already seen everything within thousands of miles. In his mind, countless images flashed. The things that the Eye of the Soul saw would not disappear, but would be stored in his mind so that he could flip through them at any time. Otherwise, there would be way too many things within thousands of miles, and even Yi Chen would not be able to tell which was which, since the human memory was limited after all. There is an underground crack here. No, it is only a small crack less than 1,000 meters deep. It should be left behind after the battle between Sea of Souls realm warriors. Underground river. Volcano hot spring. Big valley. Inside the mountain there is black chi coming out. There is a crack. This is it. As more images flashed past, Yi Chen's attention landed on the latest one. It was a huge mountain 300 miles away. There were many tunnels inside the mountain, crisscrossing like a web. In the upper right corner of the mountain, there was a cave with a 100-meter-long crack. Rolling black chi was spreading out of the crack, which seemed to have the ability to devour soul power. That was why Yi Chen did not notice it before. 10,000 miles away, a huge weird bird with burning wings was flying at an extreme speed. On the back of the bird there was a group of people, led by Gu Ping. Master Ping, the 1,000-mile soul-chasing incense has lost its effect. Behind Gu Ping, a person's expression changed as he said hurriedly. Gu Ping frowned. The tracking range of the incense is 18,000 miles. You said earlier that it was 13,000 miles away. How come it is gone now? I do not know either. Perhaps he had found out about the incense? Impossible. Gu Ping shook his head. The incense is colorless and odorless. It is made with top-rank shadowless plants and other precious materials. Without the senses of a king warrior, it would be hard to notice. Plus, if he had found out about the incense, he could have just thrown it on the ground. There would be no need for him to destroy it, since it would be the same as telling us that he had found it. That is true. He should have entered some unknown place, right? Gu Ping's face darkened as he said, the place where we went was the same as where he went. Perhaps he had asked for the same information in the pavilion as I did, or maybe there is some kind of connection between them. What is Master Ping planning to do? Let's not worry about him for now. Let's find the underground crack first. If he is in there as well, then it would be killing two birds with one stone. A creepy cold light flashed through his eyes. No one knew what Gu Ping was planning. Arriving inside the mountain, Yi Chen soon found the entrance of the crack. At the entrance, black chi was everywhere and a cold wind was blowing. It seemed like it was connected to hell, making people feel extremely depressed. Ah! An extremely horrified sound was suddenly heard from afar. It sounded like a ghost's scream, but also like a ghost's haunting. In this creepy environment, it would be enough to scare any normal person to death. Yi Chen frowned. He thought about it and decided to check it out. Right then, a weird snake with a tumor on its head jumped out of the river. It opened its mouth, shooting out a stinky poisonous chi like an arrow, aiming right at Yi Chen's face. Yi Chen did not even look at it. He threw out a thunder lion with his left hand. It was the thunder lion transformation of the thunder beast transformation. The brutal thunder power was the nemesis of these kinds of evil creatures. The weird snake was instantly burnt, falling into the river. No one knew if it was dead or alive. Inside a dead silent cave, a young man and a woman appeared. The young man's face was full of fear. His eyeballs almost popped out of his eye sockets. He opened his mouth and let out an inhuman scream from time to time. Chilling wind blew on his body, and the cold air was very obvious. Behind him, it seemed like something was invading his body. Occasionally he would glance at it and see a blurry human figure. That person's face was blurry and cold, making one's scalp go numb. Go. Go. The young man held his neck with one hand and tried his best to push the girl away with the other. No. The girl's tears kept falling down. Her face was full of fear and unwillingness. If they had known that this place was evil, they would not have come here in the first place. Go. If we don't go now, I will not be able to control myself. It is trying to take over my body. Go. Let's go together. The girl was very unyielding. She waved her hand and attacked the young man's back. Unfortunately, her Zhen Yuan could not reach the blurry human figure at all. It went right through and caused half of the cave to collapse. The young man's eyes turned white, and his pupils could not be seen anymore. The cold air on his body had even frozen the air, leaving only a trace of the blurry human figure outside. The dead silent air moved slightly. Out of nowhere, a young man in blue appeared not far away from the two. His pupils shone with a silver luster, seeming to be a bit surprised. "Who are you? Go. If you don't go now, you will die with us." The girl's face flashed with surprise at first, then joy, and then despair. She and the young man were both master-level warriors, but even they could not deal with this thing, so it would be even worse for the other side. She did not want to drag someone down with her before she died. "Maybe I can deal with it." The young man in blue appeared in front of the young man with one step and put his hand on the latter's shoulder. Chapter 573. You can handle it? The woman was about to say something when she suddenly saw a shocking scene. Yi Chen's right hand rested on the young man's shoulder, and in the next second, a horrifying sword intent exploded out. This sword intent contained a boundless killing intent, and under the washing of the killing intent, the cold qi in the cave was instantly obliterated. The young man's body shook as he felt as if he was being cut by 1,000 blades. However, compared to the feeling of being cut by 1,000 blades, the temporary recovery of his consciousness gave him a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. Feeling the enormous threat, the vague human figure behind the young man let out an eerie and sharp roar. This roar didn't have any killing power, but it directly penetrated into the soul. The young man and the woman's consciousness immediately became muddled, and they were completely defenseless. "Piss off." A silver light beam shot out of Yi Chen's eyes as the killing sword intent shot out. Its power increased to another level as it landed on the blurry human figure. Yi Chen's killing sword intent was extremely horrifying. If it were not for the fact that he was afraid that the teenager might not be able to handle it, he would have suppressed the power and range. Otherwise, that attack would have been more than enough to destroy the blurry human figure. Although it was not destroyed, it was still blown out of the teenager's body by the sword intent. Once the blurry human figure left the teenager, it could not be seen anymore. Even Yi Chen would not be able to sense it unless he opened his soul eye again. But opening it twice in such a short period of time would consume a lot of his soul power, which would make him quite exhausted. As the blurry human figure disappeared, the teenager's body softened, and he knelt on the ground. "Zhuqiu." The girl hurried to help the teenager up. "I am fine now." The teenager's voice was very weak and his body was cold. "Let me help you up." Holding the teenager up, the girl looked at Yi Chen. She thought that Yi Chen was only a normal Sea of Souls realm warrior, who was not even as powerful as her. But now she did not think so anymore. His sword intent was extremely horrifying, and even that weird thing could not handle it at all. It had been blown out of Zhuqiu's body. "You have saved Zhuqiu's life, which means you have saved mine. So, from now on I, Li Qingxiang, owe you my life," the woman said gratefully. Yi Chen didn't care too much about their words. What he cared about was their names. He asked, "Are you Zhuqiu and Li Qingxiang from the southern sector?" "That's right. You are?" The woman and the young man raised their heads. Yi Chen smiled. "Maybe you don't know me. My name is Yi Chen." "Yi Chen." The girl named Li Qingxiang froze for a second before smiling as well. "Yes, how could we not know each other?" Chapter 574. Human Puppet Art, Assimilate. Beside the river, Gu Ping suddenly stopped his body. Both of his hands moved like butterflies as he formed a spell. All of a sudden, an invisible power spread out with him as the center. It was extremely powerful, but it did not even cause a ripple in the river. Buzz. From the surface of the river, a blurry human shadow was shaken out, flying towards where Gu Ping was. "This is the shadowless demon? So weird." The warriors brought by Gu Ping could feel their scalps tingling as they could not help but take 2 steps back. "Don't worry. This shadowless demon will not be able to do anything to me." Gu Ping laughed out loud. The secret art that he had obtained from the ancient ruins was indeed the forbidden art of the puppet martial school, the human puppet art. It was different from normal puppet arts, as the materials used for it were not inanimate objects, but living ones. Because of how evil this secret art was, it eventually led to the destruction of the puppet martial school. He's injured. Gu Ping thought that it would not be easy to make the shadowless demon, since he had never tried it before. However, the process was surprisingly smooth. He could tell that the shadowless demon was very weak, as if it had been injured before. Shadowless puppet done? After that, Gu Ping opened his left hand and closed his fingers. All of a sudden, the blurry human figure shrunk into a ball and gathered in his palm. Gu Ping opened his left hand again. There was no longer a blurry human figure, only a blurry ghost mark. It was like a living creature, twisting and turning. Haha, it's done. I didn't think it would be so easy. After successfully crafting a shadowless puppet, Gu Ping was filled with confidence. He felt like he could see countless death warriors following behind him, fighting for him. The human puppet art of the puppet sect? This brat's luck isn't small, he actually obtained something that many people dream of. Unfortunately, the human path puppet technique isn't that easy to cultivate. If I didn't remove my control over the demonic will, I would have turned you into an idiot just now. Deep underground, a cold and ethereal voice rang out. Let's go. There should be more shadowless demons down there. Gu Ping was flying in the front with high spirits, absorbing all the cold chi around him into the mark on his palm. There is a shadowless demon here as well, but not the one before. The slaughter sword intent automatically protected his body. Like cutting a piece of paper, it sliced a blurry human figure that was attacking him into dozens of pieces, which were hard to heal. What? Slaughter sword intent? An exclamation came from the depths of the ground, as if it was extremely fearful of Yi Chen's sword intent. My demonic soul is at peak level rank 7, and the demonic will that I split out is also at rank 5. Let's see how much you can handle. If you were a life and death realm warrior, then I might be a bit worried since I would not let my demonic will get damaged for nothing. Unfortunately, you are only at Sea of Souls realm. Although you have the power of your sword intent, your control over it is still not as good as a life and death realm warrior. Take over his body. The voice calmed down and became eerie and terrifying. Buzz 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 buzz. A formless vibration spread out and countless blurry human figures rushed out of the river, attacking toward Yi Chen. Their protective Jin Yuan was practically non-existent. Kill. Inside his sea of soul, the slaughter sword spirit vibrated. Halos of sword intent spread out one after another. With Yi Chen as the center, not a single blurry figure could get close to him. All of them were bounced away. Those blurry figures lost their strength and sank into the river to recover. Come back. A voice was heard from the depths of the ground. Those wounded blurry figures went back the way they came, eventually merging into the darkness. In the next second, brand new blurry figures rushed out and joined the battle. So many shadowless demons. Yi Chen's expression changed slightly. Destruction sword intent, go. As the slaughter sword spirit vibrated, the second sword spirit vibrated as well. Meanwhile, the slaughter element in his sea of soul merged with the sword intent released by the second sword spirit, forming a slightly weaker destruction sword intent, but with a more horrifying aura. The combination of the destruction sword intent and the slaughter sword intent was like a tornado, spreading out in all directions. Those blurry human figures were first sliced into pieces, then swept by the destruction sword intent, melting them into nothingness. Even the possibility of recovery was gone. Damn. This is the destruction sword intent, which is even more horrifying than the slaughter sword intent. Where did he learn it from? No. If I keep losing the demon will like this, it will affect my demon soul greatly. I will take over the bodies of the people behind me first. The being in the depths of the ground had a slight fear towards the destruction sword intent. Although the slaughter sword intent could also destroy his demon will, it was only in a one-on-one situation. Meanwhile, the destruction sword intent was pure destruction. No matter if it was tangible or intangible, nothing could survive it. All the blurry figures dove into the river at the same time, quickly swimming upstream. They left? Yi Chen frowned. He finally knew why Wuxiao and Li Qingxiang could not even handle one shadowless demon. First of all, their martial spirits were only rank 4, while his slaughter sword spirit was only at the peak of rank 4, but its power was at the peak of rank 5. There was a whole rank and a half difference between the two. Secondly, the martial intent was more balanced than the sword intent, which was the sword intent. Its speed, defense, and attacking power would all be increased. However, in the underground crack, balance meant mediocrity. If one's attack power was not enough, then they would not be able to hurt the shadowless demons. Although the defense power of the will had been increased, under the constant attacks of the shadowless demons, there would still be a time when one would feel tired. Any slight carelessness would lead to the shadowless demons being taken advantage of. However, Yi Chen's sword intent could destroy the shadowless demons with one attack. Even facing a group of shadowless demons, he could still hurt them. As for the defense power of the will, Yi Chen did not need it at all. Before those shadowless demons even got close, the sword intent would have already sensed it, and it would automatically protect itself. Added with the destruction sword intent, Yi Chen was as hard to deal with as a porcupine. I will deal with it when it comes. I will go look for the rootless flower and the shadowless plant first. In this cold and gloomy environment, Yi Chen did not feel the slightest bit of fear. On the path of martial Dao, there was no room for cowardice or fear. The sword Dao was born from the martial Dao, but it was even harsher than the martial Dao. Turning into a beam of blue light, Yi Chen flew downstream. Ah, Master Ping, save me. Something is trying to take over my body. I cannot hold it anymore. Save me. I do not want to be taken over. Screams were heard everywhere as Gu Ping's face turned pale. Where did all these shadowless demons come from? How can I handle them all by myself? If it were just 2 or 3 of them, Gu Ping would have the confidence to handle them. But there were dozens of them, and Gu Ping thought he could protect himself. Plus, according to the information he got from the pavilion, there were not that many of them in the underground crack. Human puppet spell. Train. The invisible power spread out like a net, grabbing the dozens of shadowless demons that were trying to take over the Gu family warriors' bodies. However, the power of the dozens of shadowless demons had already surpassed the pulling power of the human puppet spell. No matter how hard Gu Ping pushed his puppet spell to its limit, he still could not stop them from taking over their bodies. All he could do was watch them enter his warriors' bodies. Puppet Pearl. At the critical moment, Gu Ping threw out a shining bead, which spun and floated above his head. Right after that, the bead shot out the same power as the human puppet spell, increasing its power. Come here. With the help of the pearl, Gu Ping was like a god. His invisible power had been doubled, and he managed to drag the dozens of shadowless demons out. You even have a puppet pearl? What a great fortune. But it is not worth mentioning in my eyes. Demon will drill. Chapter 575. Was a huge lake. The surface of the lake shone with green light spots, which made the whole lake look crystal clear. It was as if it was made up of green light, which was extremely magical. This is it. Seeing the lake, Yi Chen's eyes brightened, but then he looked confused. The underground crack was full of danger, and there were hundreds of shadowless demons. He wondered how the pavilion knew that the rootless flower and shadowless plant were growing here. Had a life and death realm warrior come here to check it out? No way. Yi Chen shook his head. Life and death realm warriors would not fall to this level. Then would it be a top master level warrior? That was not possible either. The shadowless demon was way more dangerous than the rumors. If it were not for his slaughter sword intent and destruction sword intent that could suppress the shadowless demon, even if it were another master level warrior with a rank 5 sword intent, he would still be killed. How would Yi Chen know that the shadowless demons here were the demonic will of some powerful being? The owner of the demonic will would not care about normal warriors at all, and would not touch them at all. Only the young martial geniuses would be its prey. It could be seen from the fact that a group of powerful warriors from the Gu family had been possessed by the normal demonic will, while Gu Ping had been possessed by the main demonic will. The pavilion has a very high status. Perhaps they have some other unknown channels. Getting rid of all the unnecessary thoughts, Yi Chen lifted up his head and looked at the sky above the lake. Yi Chen's eyes flashed as he saw a floating green flower hundreds of meters away in the sky above the lake. It was only the size of a palm, with 2 petals that looked like thin wings. Below the flower, where the roots used to be, there were 2 extra feelers that looked like long legs waving slightly. Come here. Yi Chen recognized it immediately. It was indeed the rootless flower. He waved his right hand and a suction force appeared. It seemed like it had sensed the threat, as the 2 petals of the rootless flower flapped intensely, trying its best to fight against the suction force. Meanwhile, a huge amount of green light spots flew up into the sky, forming a green shield, blocking out Yi Chen's suction force. Interesting. Putting down his right hand, Yi Chen stomped on the ground lightly, and his whole body jumped out into the air, arriving in front of the green shield within a second. Break! He formed a fist with his right hand, and a thunder lion appeared. Yi Chen threw out a punch at the shield. Pa! Boom! Boom! The jade-green barrier surged with lightning and exploded with a bang. Yi Chen passed through it. Just as the rootless flower was about to fall into his hands, the undercurrent of the lake below surged, and a long black shadow rolled out as fast as lightning. Yi Chen's expression did not change. He retracted his right hand and reached for his waist. The next moment, a golden sword light burst out and flashed past, cutting the long black shadow in half. After doing all this, Yi Chen did not stop. His left hand reached out from his waist, like a green dragon coming out of the water or a venomous snake coming out of its hole. He grabbed the rootless flower that was trying to escape, through the air. Then he shrank his body and flew backward, avoiding the surprise attack of another black shadow. On the shore, Yi Chen used an extreme rank jade box to store the rootless flower and put it in his storage ring. He then looked at the place where the undercurrent was surging. Swoosh! The sound of water breaking rang out, and an object the size of a small mountain appeared. Around the small mountain were long black shadows dancing in the air. There were a total of 8 of them. In the center of the small mountain, 2 lantern-like balls of light suddenly lit up. Each ball was the size of a water tank, giving off a strong sense of oppression. It was a black octopus, a huge black octopus. Its body was not round but rather sharp and jagged. There were colorful patterns all over its body, which were bright and eye-catching. Just by looking at its appearance, one could tell that it was an extremely poisonous black octopus. Die, die, die. The black octopus spoke in the human language. Its voice was extremely creepy, going straight into people's souls. You are the one who will die. Putting his gold sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen did not care about the black octopus at all. Boom. Yi Chen's words had angered the black octopus. Its water tank-sized eyes shone with a bright light, and all 8 of its tentacles waved in the air. It jumped out at Yi Chen, bringing up a beast power wind pressure that was powerful enough to shatter mountains. A circular pattern spread out at an extreme speed. Lifting up both of his hands, Yi Chen looked cold. In the next second, a beam of sword chi shot out from all 10 of his fingers, interweaving with each other like a huge green net. The black octopus was extremely fast and it bumped into the green net. All of a sudden, the sound of countless sharp blades cutting through rocks was heard. Within a second, the black octopus's body was full of holes, and 3 of its tentacles had been cut off as well. They had all been shattered into pieces by that horrifying sword chi tornado. It seemed like it had not expected Yi Chen to be this horrifying. The black octopus screamed in fear, and its body shrunk before sinking down like lightning. Because it was sinking so fast, the lake water around it started to bulge up like an iron bucket, reaching dozens of meters high. The green light spot had the effect of blocking out soul power detection. Yi Chen waited for a while, and seeing that the black octopus did not show up again, he knew that it was scared. He could not help but smile, but soon his smile froze on his face. He heard a dead air-piercing sound, so he turned around and saw a group of Gu family warriors with their eyes rolled up. The leader was indeed Gu Ping, who had a cold expression on his face. He was the only one who looked normal. These people have been possessed? Yi Chen could tell that something was wrong. Go! Gu Ping waved his hand, and all of the Gu family warriors who had been possessed jumped out at the same time, attacking towards Yi Chen, who was hundreds of meters away. At the same time, a huge amount of blurry human shadows mixed in with the Gu family warriors, waiting for the right moment to attack. A cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as Yi Chen lifted up all 10 of his fingers once again. Sword Chi Tornado. All out. With every breath, each of his fingers would shoot out dozens of Lotus Heart Sword Chi beams. Adding all 10 of his fingers together, there were hundreds of beams of Sword Chi beams. The beams of Sword Chi beams shot out one after another, shining like stars, enveloping the 10 people in front of him. Swoosh, swoosh, ting, ting. Some of the Gu family warriors were wearing top-ranked defensive weapons, while some of them had taken out top-ranked defensive shields. Half of them did not have top-ranked defensive weapons, so under the Lotus Heart Sword Chi that contained the killing sword intent, their bodies were pierced through like a beehive, falling down onto the ground. Destruction Fist. Gu Ping moved with a cold face. He took one step forward, cracking the ground as he threw out a punch towards Yi Chen, which contained the Destruction Profound. The Lotus Heart Sword Chi had been destroyed, and Yi Chen took out his gold sword, waving out a crescent-shaped gold sword chi that clashed with Gu Ping's fist power. Bang! Like a huge firework exploding, the intense shockwave spread out in all directions, blowing away a lot of the Gu family warriors who were unable to move forward. The mental power attack had even made a lot of blurry human shadows scream and back out, clearing out a huge area of space. Destruction Fist. 8 movement. A cold light flashed through Gu Ping's eyes. His body shook once and 7 shadows appeared in the air. Including his real body, there would be 8 of them in total. 8 Gu Pings threw out their destruction fists at Yi Chen at the same time. That powerful fist power had twisted the space around, tearing apart the rocks around. Yi Chen took a deep breath as his whole body turned into a black shadow, moving in between the fist power. Along the way, a lot of blurry human shadows attacked, trying to stop Yi Chen from moving. However, with the intense killing sword intent and destruction sword intent on Yi Chen's body, the blurry human shadows could only slow down Yi Chen a little bit. This brat is definitely a good clone. We cannot let him go. The voice from deep underground was a bit hurried. He had never seen a sword artist genius with 2 types of sword intents. Compared to Yi Chen, Gu Ping seemed a lot weaker. Double sword. Go. Appearing in front of Gu Ping's real body within a second, Yi Chen held the gold sword in his right hand and the emerald longsword in his left. He crossed the 2 swords and threw out his most powerful sword attack. As the 2 sword lights interweaved together, a dark blue thunder lightning ball appeared, devouring Gu Ping instantly. Boom. The thunder moved like a snake and Gu Ping's whole body was blown away, blood pouring out of all of his orifices. Flashing his body to dodge the attacks of the other Gu family warriors, Yi Chen frowned and thought to himself, I have to finish this as soon as possible. Feels a bit weird. With that thought in mind, Yi Chen put the 2 swords back into their scabbards and took out his semi-extreme rank great sword, the Thunder Disaster Sword. Oh. The sword body was like a beam of lightning as Yi Chen stabbed out with it. The sword's speed kept on increasing and in the end, it was almost ignoring the distance between them. Swoosh. Gu Ping's throat was stabbed and his eyes lost their light. So close. At that critical moment, the blurry human figure that had taken over Gu Ping's body jumped out of his body. It was not hit by Yi Chen's sword attack, since that sword attack contained an intense slaughter sword intent. If one was hit directly, even if they were not badly wounded, they would at least be slightly wounded. Sacrifice explosion. The rest of the Gu family warriors surrounded Yi Chen. Their bodies suddenly shone with an eye-piercing light as they started to explode. The explosion chi flow stacked together, which was enough to wound or even kill most of the master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors. Defense was Yi Chen's weakness, and an unprecedented sense of danger flashed through his mind. He performed his rarely used green lotus sword art. The sword light turned into a green lotus, covering him within while he himself increased the thickness of his protective Zhenyuan layer, trying to block out the power of the explosion. Boom. The bottomless crack almost collapsed, and a huge crack appeared on the huge mountain above it, as if it had been cut in half by a huge axe. I hope you don't die. It would be such a shame if you did. Self-sacrificing explosion was not an ultimate secret art of the Gu family, but a secret art of the owner of the demonic will. His demonic will allowed him to take over other people's bodies and use them to perform self-sacrificing explosion. Naturally, it would be successful and it would not harm his own body. After all, this explosion did not have a mental attack. It was purely a Zhenyuan explosion. After the light faded away, Yi Chen was bleeding from all 7 of his orifices as he stood up with his sword. He is not dead yet. But even if he is not dead yet, his body has been badly wounded, and his soul must be in a weakened state. It would be the perfect time for me to take over his body. Countless blurry human figures started to move, rushing toward Yi Chen. Yi Chen activated his slaughter sword intent and destruction sword intent, bouncing away the attacks from the blurry human figures. However, the sudden weakening of his soul had caused his sword intent to lose its endurance. Performing the undying body would consume a huge amount of yuan qi, which he would have to rely on pellets to replenish. But there was no time for that right then. His body had been badly wounded, and his soul, which was closely connected to his body, was also extremely weak. Right now Yi Chen was at his weakest. Right then, the strongest blurry human figure jumped out of Gu Ping's body and jumped toward Yi Chen. Without much of a hindrance, the blurry human figure entered Yi Chen's body. Right at the moment of successfully taking over his body, an extremely powerful mental light suddenly shone out of Yi Chen's body. An old man's shadow appeared out of nowhere, and with a closer look, it was indeed the leader of the Dragon God Heaven Palace, the Dragon King. The Dragon King's shadow yelled, and an invisible mental power attack spread out. All of the blurry human figures disappeared one after another. What? Rank 7 mental power. An unbelievable voice came from deep under the ground. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.